It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
Ariel Helwani.
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, March 28, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani. Inside our New York City studio. I missed ya. What a fun week it was. What a big week it was. Wow. A historic week in our sport. Of course, last Tuesday, the New York Assembly finally passed the bill to legalize mixed martial arts. People around here very happy. A lot went on in the world of MMA last week, as per usual. And I'm happy that today, March 28th, we are doing our show. This is a very special day for two reasons. It's a special day because A, it is my beautiful wife Jacqueline's birthday. I wish her a happy birthday. She's probably not watching or listening because she hears from my nonsense enough on a daily and nightly basis, but I wish her a happy birthday, and I love this day very much. And also, it's a special day because 8 years ago today, I received my first full-time offer to cover this sport professionally and actually get paid to do so. March 28th, 2008, I was 3 days away from my self-imposed deadline. If I didn't get a job covering MMA for actual money, I was going to go back to TV production. And on this date, 8 years ago, on my future wife's birthday, I got that offer from MMArated.com, and the rest, as they say, is history. What a show! What a lineup! And I saw someone on Twitter say, and you know, you guys are a smart bunch. I love the fans of this sport. I love the fans of this show. I love you guys more than you know. And I have to say right off the top, two things. First of all, when you get into journalism, when you aspire to be a reporter, when you aspire to do a dream job like this, you aspire to report on the news. You don't want to be the news. And unfortunately, fortunately, whatever you want to say, for a little period there in the middle, it kind of felt like I was a part of the news. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling, believe it or not. That's not a spot that I ever want to be in. And number two, to every fighter, manager, promoter, fan, friend, coach, trainer, random person on social media, former colleague that I have not heard from in years, current colleagues, every single person that reached out, I saw them all, I read them all, they meant more than you'll ever know. I sincerely love you all. And I know that there is some interest in the Fox stuff that happened last week, and I will address it later on in the program. And the reason for that is this show, as you know, has never been about me. It's never been about New York Rick or anyone who works on the show. It's always been about the guests. It's always been about the fighters. It's always been about the people who were doing us a favor and taking time out of their day to come on this show. And it will remain that way. Yeah, I can go 20 minutes and talk about last week right off the top, but I'm not going to do that because that's not what we do on this show. And yeah, it was important for me to come out with the all-star cast that we have, and hopefully they all show up and everything goes smoothly. Yeah, because a lot of people were asking me last week, I'm going to miss you, or where are you going to go? Or they're saying things like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. I am not going anywhere. I can assure you of that. This show is going on. The MMA beat is going on. Other great things are going on. Don't get it twisted. I'm not going anywhere. I'm very happy, secure, comfortable where I've always been, where I've been for the last 7 years. This show's not going anywhere, and we have a lot of important people to talk to today. So do not fret. I will address that stuff, and I have no problem addressing it. And again, I appreciate everyone, but we've got some MMA to discuss. And that's most important to me. And look at this lineup. Look at these people that are stopping by today. Holy moly. 245. The number one contender. The GOAT. In the light heavyweight division, Jon Jones is stopping by. Johnny Bones. First time in a long time he joins us. 225. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is stopping by. the UFC strawweight champion herself. 205, CM Punk stops by. 145, Renzo Gracie stops by. 125, the UFC flyweight champion Demetrious Johnson stops by. You know, a good pal of mine, Sean Sheehan, the pride of Limerick, called this the best in the world special. And you know what? It does kind of feel like that. The best in their respective crafts, the best in their respective domains. Very exciting. We are pumped to talk about MMA in New York. We are pumped to talk about MMA. Yeah, it feels like the old day. I like this. Chris Cyborg officially announced for UFC 198. Remember where you heard that first. Catchweight fight against Leslie Smith. Nice announcement, nice timing, a lot to discuss. Let's get right to it. Our first guest of the day is a man who, in my opinion, deserves a boatload of praise, a boatload of our appreciation. The man who was there on the front lines with others, there's no doubt about it, but no one worked harder to get MMA legalized in this great state than our very first guest, and there was only one way that we could start this show. I had to start the show this way because he is largely responsible for finally getting MMA legalized in this state, and oh, by the way, getting it legalized across this great country. He is the UFC's VP of Regulatory Affairs. He is the one and only Marc Ratner, and he joins us right now on the phone. Marc, how are you?
Very well, Air. Thanks for saying all those kind words. But as you said, there was a lot of people involved, and I might have been the face, but it took a real, just a lot of people. So I'm thrilled, though.
Well, I can't imagine. And so I'm wondering, take me back to Tuesday afternoon, our time, somewhat your time as well. I believe actually you were in Albany, right? You were in Albany last Tuesday when this went down?
Yes, I was. I went to, I think, 4 committee meetings and saw it sail through. And I was certainly optimistic that we'd get through the assembly. But until we got the vote, it was always a little bit nervous.
So what was that moment like when the young woman went on the microphone and announced the votes, and it was clear that it had finally passed what you had believed for a long time? You just wanted that proverbial at-bat. You wanted a chance to hit it out of the park, and it finally happened. Can you describe the emotions that went through your body when you realized it was actually a reality?
I was surprised at my when I first heard the vote that I actually teared up for a second and looked back and said, "Gee, we finally did it." So it was very, very emotional and exciting, and it just it's the way it's supposed to be. It shouldn't have taken this long. It was nonsensical that it took this long, but I don't look back. I only look forward. Now it's time to get the rules done and have a fight there.
And it seemed like everyone had a premonition that it looked like a foregone conclusion in the days leading up to it. Were you at all nervous listening to some of that nonsense from the assembly members? Were you at all nervous that they would throw a curveball your way and that this, once again, for I believe the 8th straight year, would not pass?
I think what I was nervous about was listening to some of the stuff that was being said, and what I was really thinking is, how do these people get elected? It's just implausible that they would say some of the statements they made, and they weren't educated at all about it. But nevertheless, 114 votes out of 150 is pretty darn good.
What was the vibe like there? Did you get the sense that these people were, maybe with the union, just one last, because to me the crazy thing was like their arguments were so out of left field. It was almost like they were trying for that proverbial haymaker, that Hail Mary, and they weren't actually trying with good intentions to stop the sport from being legalized. Did you get the sense that this was all kind of a charade and hoping that it would be over sooner rather than later? It dragged, I know, but to be actually there and listen to all that, what's that like?
I think that I don't know. I wasn't ever worried about it. It was always a question of when, not if. But it was dragging, and I was just wondering, when are they going to get a vote here? And then they would go back, and some people had a second chance to speak, and then after you vote, you can defend your vote. It was a very bizarre way of doing business in all the politics that I've seen. But the bottom line is, New York's finally open for business, and we'll be there.
By the way, and like I said earlier, you were on the front lines for all the states who ended up legalizing the sport once you joined the team, and there's no coincidence there. Did you have to go through that? I know it wasn't this long in every state, but is it the same setup in, say, Michigan, Florida, where it's an assembly and you get these wackos talking about weird things? Did you have to go through that every single time?
More so in the committees, not
Okay.
so much in the assembly itself. This was, and some commissions could approve this without going through the whole political process, like Nevada. Once we got the unified rules in effect, which was late 2000, early 2001, then the commission voted to accept those unified rules, and we were able to approve the sport. But not all states are like Nevada, obviously, and everywhere's different. I've seen a lot of state capitals that I've only read about, and but all in all, now it's worth it. So as I mentioned on some of the things. As Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead said, what a long, strange trip it's been.
Yes, amen to that. How many times do you think you went to Albany over the past 8 years or so?
I would say we lost count, but probably conservatively 25.
Wow. Are you, okay, maybe when there's an event there, but are you looking forward to not having to go there for a while?
I would look forward to not going there in the winter.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yes.
Because most of my trips were in January or February or March. But I was able to have one meeting at Saratoga, which was one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. So I got to go there one summer. So.
And as far as the commission is concerned, what we're told is that this can't, you can't put on an event. You need 120 days for the commission to set up, at least 120. Can't be before that, and then things will, get rolling. Do you have any idea if it will take them less than 120 days? Because they've certainly had a lot of time to think about this, and all signs point to them being in favor of it. It wasn't their decision to ban the sport or keep it from being legalized in the States. So do you think it will actually take the commission less than 120 days to actually be open for business?
Well, I'm going to go there in the next 10 days or so. I'll go to New York. I've already had a conference call with them. So everything is pointing that it should be in action, but we just need to make sure everything is the way it needs to be, and they're not going to jump into it. They have a lot of different people they answer to when it comes to budget, when it comes to insurance provisions. So we'll just get it done. But hopefully, we're shooting for fourth quarter to have our first show.
I mentioned this on the MMA Beat. I know a show that you love so dearly last week.
I do.
I said that given all the money that Zuffa spent, as far as lobbying is concerned, and just to get this darn bill passed, I feel like the commission should honor that and allow Zuffa to have the first event in the state of New York, whether it's at MSG or anywhere else, Buffalo, whatever. You guys deserve that. Have they told you that that's what they're planning on doing? Can they even do that?
The commission, that was never discussed. I believe absolutely we should be the first show there. I didn't even see thank yous from some of our competitors. They spent nothing, and we spent millions, and to get it done. So, but as I've said here before, and this is the best New York thing I can say: we're Broadway, and everybody else is off Broadway.
So did that bug you when you saw all these statements and stuff, and no one even acknowledging? I mean, whether they, I know all's fair in promoting, but you guys deserve. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, those are numbers that you can look up. You guys were on the front lines. You made those trips. You spent that money lobbying. Did that irk you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I took it, I don't know if personally is the right word, but I found myself aggravated that all any competitor should say is, we can't wait to be in New York, but we want to thank our fellow promoter, the UFC, for getting this done and shepherding it through. And that's what I didn't see.
There's also, this was mentioned at the hearing, this tax that seems to be pretty high. I believe it's 8.5%. Will this stop other promoters from even coming here?
Yeah, that I don't know. That's part of the things we're going to have to go through. The boxing tax is 3%, and now they want MMA to be 8.5%, and that would make it the most expensive place in the country to have a show. So I don't know why they came up with that number, but that is the number they've come up with.
Why do you think? You have any idea why? Like, I mean, that's more than double what boxing promoters have to pay.
It's from the very beginning that when we started with the Senate getting this through, it's always been 8.5%. We know that we're going to keep fighting to get it lowered someday, but right now we just want to get it done, have the first shows, and then maybe go back to the legislature at a different time.
And just for the uninformed, like, what is it, for example, in Nevada or California? What's the tax that you have to pay?
Well, everywhere it's different.
Okay.
Now, in Nevada, it is 8%, but there's no television tax. So that comes out. In New York, there's a $50,000 cap on a TV tax plus the 8.5%. So it'll be by far the most expensive place we go to. California is 5% with a television tax, but each state is different. So that's part of when we go anywhere, that's the first thing we check is what are the taxes we have to pay.
I also understand, and I wanted to clear this up with you. Is there some crazy, like really, really high number for health insurance for any kind of brain injury suffered in a fight in New York that might preclude other promoters from coming here as well?
There is I would call it a catastrophic clause. If somebody was severely injured brain-wise, that they have something in there. Once again, we have to get more into the weeds and find out exactly what it means. If there will be an insurance carrier that would even write the policy. So when you pass bills, and I've learned this in other sports, when you make a new rule, sometimes there's unintended consequences, and you have to get through those too.
How much is that one for?
I think it was $1 million.
Wow. I mean, no other promoter. I mean, maybe Viacom, but that's it, right? Do they not want, like, do they only want you guys, the big shows, to be there? Is that your impression? Do they not want the Ring of Combats to hold events in New York State as well?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody really looked at it. And this particular part of it is for boxing and kickboxing too.
Wow.
So you'll have industries up in arms before it's all done.
And what is it in other states?
I don't believe that any other state has a long-term brain injury fund, to my knowledge, at least. Most states, like we have $100,000 for injuries, and there's a death benefit of $100,000. But a long-term fund like this would be a little bit different, and that's why we have to spend some time up there and meet with the insurance people and meet with the commission and their attorney generals and really hash this out.
So right now, as we sit here today, is France the only country that MMA is illegal in? Is there any other work to be done as far as legalization is concerned?
I would say that there's a lot of countries we haven't been to in Eastern Europe, and but France did have something against it, but I think that's softening too. There's very, very few places in the world. We're going to Croatia in a couple weeks. We're going to Rotterdam. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We'll self-regulate those places. And what we need is the organization of the IMMAF to help us and try to get some commissions in some of these other countries. So, it's a worldwide sport, and we're going to be at the forefront.
So you you're actually looking forward to the day where you don't have to regulate at all anymore.
I think that's the best way to think, yes, because we're a promoter, and right now we're trying to grow the sport, but I think that's my objective, is to let a commission handle everything and properly regulate.
Of all the ones that passed, of all the ones that you got legalized, and obviously it's almost like an unfair question because I know New York was the saga and it is the media capital of the world, but did any even come close to the feeling that you felt last Tuesday when this passed, or of all of them, does this one top them all?
No, this one is, because it was such a long journey that by far. Everywhere else, it might take an extra session or so, but we got it done. But let's go to the state of Connecticut. We still haven't got that one finished because they have some insurance provisions. So
Really?
we're doing cleanup there in Connecticut. We can go to the Indian reservations, but not to Hartford.
Any other issues in the U.S. that we should know about?
No, this is why it was so important to get New York done, because you can't have it everywhere except in North America, except for New York. It made no sense. Now you're in the media capital and everything else, and it'll make it better for our sponsors. It just makes it better and makes the sport much better to the world.
Have you been told by MSG that you guys will be the first event there?
I've met with MSG, and we'll be meeting with them again. I do believe we'll be the first event at MSG for MMA.
And as far as you know, is there an actual date that has been set for that event?
That I don't know. I just know we're talking fourth quarter and trying to line it up. MSG has so many things that go on there.
Sure.
So you have to work between hockey and hoops, and but hopefully we'll get it narrowed down, and you'll be hearing about it.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that. And by the way, while we have you, how do you feel now about the state of MMA judging and refereeing? This is something that you obviously feel strongly about, and you work with on a daily basis with all the commissions, even when you're not self-regulating. How do you feel like we are right now?
I would say it's better, but it has a long ways to go. We need more seminars, more accountability. I believe there was a mistake made in the Magny fight. The fight went too long there.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I got to be straight and honest about that. My wife asked me, she said, "Why are you yelling at the TV?" I said, "I want this referee to stop the fight." So it's a tough sport to referee. Unlike most sports, this one, the judgment is really, really tough. But I just thought that there was too many punches there.
And how about the fact that there wasn't a 10-8 given in the first or second round?
Yeah, I think you could have had a 10-8 in both those rounds. And I also think that that if the referee would have stopped it in the first round, there might have been some outcry. But listen, it was a kind of first round where a lot of people would have stopped it. So
in Australia,
but is it perfect?
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, and we got to keep on growing and getting more officials, and that's what we're doing.
In Australia, are you guys the regulation there, or is there an actual athletic commission there?
It depends on the state.
What about in Brisbane?
In Brisbane, that's in New South Wales. We were the commission there. In Melbourne, they have their own, and so do they. In Sydney, they have their own commission.
So since you would like things to be done better, like in a case like that with Steve Percival and those judges there, will you sit down with them and ask them why they made the decisions that they made? You mentioned accountability. Do you feel like
yes.
You will? Okay.
Yeah, I've already had some email discussions, and we'll have telephone discussions too.
I also threw out this theory that I understand that not every judge and referee can be made available to the media after the event, but don't you think it's time that some of these judges and officials, at least put out a statement like they do in the NBA? You know about this. When there's a controversial call, they'll put out like a Q&A explaining why, because you guys sometimes get blamed for calls when people don't understand that it's Nevada that appoints these officials. Don't you think that there should be more accountability as far as the media is concerned and the public is concerned? Come out there and explain to us why you made the decision that you made. Wouldn't you like to see that?
Well, there's it's a two-sided coin, more or less. The NFL, Major League Baseball, sometimes they have what they call a pool reporter that'll come in on
Yes.
major games.
Yes.
But very seldom do you see an official, whether it's in college, whether it's where they are allowed to speak. In all my years of doing Division I football, the individual official was never allowed. And so it's interesting, and I think that there needs to be a statement on certain things, especially when it comes to misapplying a rule.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do when I do come on the broadcast.
Yes.
Is saying this is the rule and this is the way it should be, without killing the official.
Yeah, I love that. I hope they continue to do that. And I give a lot of credit to the production team for thinking of that. Okay, so as we wrap up, does it Does it feel kind of surreal, like that you don't have to worry about New York anymore? I know there's more work to be done, but it's all good news. The governor, signs it off, and the commission, all that stuff. Does it feel kind of weird living in this new time where New York is actually a thing that can happen for MMA and for the UFC in particular? Has that set in yet?
No, because I walk in this morning and we got to do this for Croatia, this for Rotterdam. We got to fight in Tampa. So it just it's like climbing a mountain, and you finally get up to the top of the mountain, and you say, "Man, I finally got to the top of the mountain." And you look down; there's like 10 mountains in front of you. It's you never look down. So I'm thrilled, but we got plenty of work to do.
How'd you celebrate?
In Albany, we had a big dinner with our lobbyists and a couple of the legislators, and I did have one glass of champagne and a little vodka and a nice dinner. So
yes, I like it. Final thing.
And my whole company here, by the way, they had a champagne toast too.
Yes, well deserved as well. Of all the things that you've accomplished in your entire career, dating back, when you were working for the NAC, where does this one rank?
This is because it was such a long and winding road. My other song title, it certainly ranks up there as but it's a shared happiness. And I think you're right. It hasn't all settled in, and I will be. As an aside, I'm looking forward to this as much as anything. Canastota in June. That's a big thing for me, also.
Yes, you will be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, correct?
That's correct, and that's overwhelming for me, and I'm very much in awe because this is with all the famous boxers from Ali and Joe Louis, and for me as a regulator to be involved is really special and makes me nervous to even talk about it.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing, and it's so well deserved. You know how highly I think of you, Marc, personally. So wow, I really. Wish you all the best with that. And I think that what a moment that's going to be. I hope it's recorded or streamed live somewhere. I would love to see it, and no one deserves it more than you. Here's my last question. If Sheldon Silver is still the Assembly Speaker, does this get done?
Well, each year, all these other assemblymen, they were losing their jobs or going to Senate, and we were getting every year we're getting more. So it's interesting. Could he have stopped it? Of course. But I don't go back in time. He's not there. Mr. Heastie, he was able to, as a sponsor at one time, all we wanted, as you said earlier, was to get an at-bat, and we got it, and we won.
Beautiful. I cannot wait for that first show at the Mecca. Again, Mazel Tov to you and the team. A beautiful thing. The good guys won on Tuesday in Albany. So very happy for you. And again, thank you from the MMA community for all the hard work. I wonder if this even gets done if you're not on board. So again, Marc, thank you so much.
Sure I would've.
Thank you for coming on the show, and can't wait for that first show. Really, really appreciate you coming on here today.
All right, Eric. Thanks.
All right, there he is. Marc Ratner, the UFC's VP of Regulatory Affairs. Great news out of New York. Okay, let's move along. Let's welcome in many people's eyes, the pound-for-pound king. The man who will be defending his title at UFC 197, April 23rd in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our old pal, Mighty Mouse, Demetrious Johnson. Demetrious, how are you?
What's going on, Ariel? How you doing, brother?
Great to talk to you, Demetrious. It has been a while, believe it or not. I don't know if you know this since you've been on the show. Almost like 3/4 of a year. The last time you were on, man, you ruffled feathers, huh? You threw out that $2 million remark, and that thing had legs for days. It was unbelievable. You got any more grenades that you want to launch today?
I believe the reason why it's been so long for your show is because you lost my phone number. So shame on you.
No, now you give the exclusives to your boys over at Twitch, to your fans over there. What are we at now as far as followers there now?
I think we just hit 36,000 followers. So shout out to the Twitch family, Twitch squad, Mighty Squad. Yeah, we're building a nice community over there. We talk about all types of stuff, video games, MMA, all types of shit.
What does Rampage have?
Rampage, I think he's at like 46,000.
Oh, we got to beat him.
I'm not sure.
We got to beat him.
We're working on it, baby.
Okay.
We're working on it. It's a healthy competition.
Okay, good. We definitely have to beat him. When you found out that you were the co-main event to this, on this great card, to this main event of Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier, and that you wouldn't have, to answer for, the promotion, all that stuff. You could just be co-pilot and ride that train along and have a lot of fun with it because a lot of the attention was going to be on them. Was this the perfect scenario for you? Did you love this idea that was thrown out initially?
Yeah, I was ecstatic, man. That was, the whole entire time, leading up to after my last fight with John Dodson, I was like, dude, let me play matchmaker. Let me make your guys' card. I was like, put me in the co-main event, of Weidman or Luke Rockhold. Okay, well, let me do co-main event of Verdum and Cain Velasquez, and I even pitched him. I was like, you guys can have 2 Latino champions that night if you guys make that card happen. But, yeah, I'm very excited to be behind Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier because they're going to bring the eyes. There's bad blood between those two, and I think it's the right platform to get the flyweight division a little more eyes.
Yeah, this is the perfect scenario in my opinion. Cejudo, obviously, we know about his background. Gold medalist in the Olympics, undefeated, has had a nice run in the UFC thus far. But honestly, do you think that this, if you can be objective here, do you think this is coming a little too soon for him? Do you feel like this is too big of a jump in competition and he's kind of a product of, you just blowing through the competition at 125 and there not being any other credible opponents and contenders out there?
No, not at all. I mean, I believe you're in a UFC. There's no, protecting people or, no, I don't want that person to fight him because it's a bad matchup, I think that's back in your amateur days when you're trying to build your skill set and all that stuff. You're at the big leagues now, so you fight everybody. Ever since right when I jumped into WEC, they offered, us Brad Pickett. And, Sean Shelby was like, that's a pretty tough fight. And I goes, I don't give a damn. We'll take him. And I went out there and I fought my ass off. People are like, oh, man, that fight might have been too soon for you. You're fighting a little more development. No, it was a perfect fight. Look where I've become to now. And I think it's good that everybody just fights. Don't try to pick and choose your opponents. UFC calls when you fight. Sounds good. So I think, here's Cejudo. He has great accolades. A gold medalist in Olympic wrestling, and he's undefeated in mixed martial arts. 4-0 in UFC. Let's see what he's got. I'm excited to test myself against him, and we're going to find out.
He said at that Unstoppable press conference a few weeks back that he sincerely believes that the UFC wants him to win this fight, to get rid of you. What's your response to that?
Okay.
Do you think he's just trying to get under your skin?
I guess you could say that. I mean, like I said, I've had people call me boring. My favorite line when somebody called me was John Rogan. He goes, "People Josh is so boring. I can sit there and watch his fight, get up and go make a sandwich, come back, and he's still doing the same shit." Then when I unbarred him, I was like, yeah, that sandwich must taste good, didn't it? So for me, people say all types of stuff, man, but it's all fun and games outside of the cage. But when you get in there with me, you realize how fast I am. You realize how good my transitions are. You realize how good my clinch game is, how good my kickboxing, my wrestling game is. And then, after we're done fighting, they ain't got shit to say.
I love the stare down. We're watching it now that you guys had a couple of weeks ago in Vegas. You yawning afterwards. It was great. What did you say to him? You did sort of the air quote thing. What did you guys say to each other?
He said, no excuses. And I was like, dude, the only person who makes excuses is you about tacos, bro. You mean, remember that taco you had in Mexico? Yeah, so that's the thing, man. Like, I'm all about just going out there and let my skill set do the talking. And I've never made an excuse in my life. I fought with a broken hand, broken leg, broken rib in a Muay Thai fight. Came out, victorious. And, after the fight, my coaches never even knew my leg was broken or my hand was broken. They're like, what was wrong? I was like, I broke my fucking hand in the first round. He goes, oh, all right. Well, good job. You did it good. Pat on the back. Go get surgery and get back to the gym and get back to work. So
it's funny that he used that line about excuses during the stare down because I just want to play this quick clip of him on my show a few weeks back and get your response to it. Is that all right?
Of course.
Here it is. Here's Henry Cejudo on the show just a few weeks ago.
But what I don't want, Ariel, is I don't want excuses. When I beat him, I don't want excuses that, my shirt, my beard, and people were pulling me over here, pulling me over there. No. You're fighting an undefeated fighter. He's an elite fighter, and showcase. Come on, man! Like this is a fight. This isn't. You're not fighting Benavidez. You're not fighting. You're not fighting Haraguchi. You're fighting Henry Cejudo, a really strong-willed human being that can put things together and that will shine when the brightest light.
What do you think of that?
my favorite thing is how he talks in third person. He's like, "You're fighting Henry Cejudo," and I put things together. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, that's fine. I'll see you April 23rd. Sounds good.
Why is he so worried that you're going to come up with an excuse?
I have no fucking idea. I have no idea. You should be asking that, not me, damn it.
All right, fair enough. I will ask him that the next time because he seems to be really talking about that particular thing. Do you recall watching him in the Olympics? Like, are you a fan of amateur wrestling? Do you recall when he won the gold medal?
I do not. I 110%. I've never watched. You know, and a lot of USA wrestling people might be pissed at me, but I've never have. You know, I grew up in a house full with a mother and a brother and a sister, and I was the only person who did wrestling. So after I was done with wrestling in high school, you know, after I lost state, I was like, okay, well, you know what? It's not like, you know, there was no professional wrestler. I'd go making money. So after my high school career, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go work full time and, you know, skip out on track this season and just start working out. And so hearing about the Olympics, I never knew you could, you know, didn't know there was Olympic wrestling until I got older. And then I honestly can tell you the first time I ever heard about USA Olympic wrestling. But yeah, so I didn't know he won it. And then the very first time I heard about Henry Cejudo was when he was fighting in Legacy Fighting Championship. And, you know, the headlines that, you know, this man misses weight again. And then when I clicked on the page on MMA Junkie, I was like, you know, I read the thing and I was like, oh, gold medalist misses weight again and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's interesting, whatever. And then move on to the next news. And then, you know, fast forward, here we are.
Are you concerned at all that he won't make weight? I mean, it doesn't really affect.
No.
You think he will?
He'll make weight. He'll make weight. I mean, nowadays, you know, people pay people to make sure they make weight. You know, so I think for me, I've never been the type of person to go out and hire a dietitian. You know, I always read books or I always ask doctors, and I pick people's brains. That way, at the end of the day, I can do it on my own. When I am comfortable and I can do it on my own, and I have the mind power and the will to be like, all right, tonight we're gonna have, you know, whole white chicken breast with asparagus with some type of carbohydrate, and I guess I'll have soup chili yam. Sweet, sounds good. I eat it, wake up, feel good, go out and fight. So he'll make weight.
If you knew about Olympic wrestling back then and applied yourself, do you think you could have made a run and medaled at the Olympics? Do you think about that sort of thing?
I don't think about it, but absolutely, I believe I can do that. I would like to think I can. You know, I believe in my skills and skill set, and with the right coaching and with the right mindset and where I'm just focused 110% on one thing, then absolutely. I mean, you think about it. I was working full-time at a job carrying, you know, construction tubes around, set them up. I mean, all the way up to the championship at 135, beating the best fighters in the world at that time. So now, here I am, you know, doing my thing, beating everybody up at 125, and life is good. So I believe I could have.
You're always peppered with these questions about your opponents, and you're sort of, you know, you're stone cold. You never give us an opening, but when you find out that you're fighting an undefeated guy who is, you know, one of 3 gold medalists in UFC history, do you perk up a little bit? Do you have an extra pep in your step? Does this one feel a little different because of who he is?
Ariel, Henry Cejudo could be 8-8, and I'll still have the same fire underneath my ass as if he was undefeated. So for me, it's just another opponent. Training my ass off like it's just another fight, and that's how it's going to be even in the next fight. You know, like I said, I'm never attached to the outcome of my fights. I'm never attached to the outcome of who my opponent's going to be. I asked UFC what is my date, and I said, all right, I'll make sure I'm the best Demetrious Johnson on April 23rd, and that's what I plan on doing.
7 straight title defenses, right?
Woo-wee!
Anderson has the record 10. How important is that to you to break that record?
It's important. You know, it's a goal. It's a goal for me. And I think that, you know, me having that goal super high or high on my priority list is something I'm shooting for. And I just think it'd be fucking dope. It was like, oh, Demetrious Johnson, UFC flyweight champion with 15 consecutive title defenses, never got injured, beat all his opponents. And I think that's something dope to look back on where you know, whoever purchased the company after Dana and Lorenzo are done, they look at it and see my name like, oh, shit, they had 15 title defenses. Let's look up why was he so successful? What was he so good at? What made him different than all the other champions? You know, each time he fought, he kept on evolving. He kept on, you know, he fought a 2-time world Sambo champion. Couldn't take the man down. What did he do? End up out-punching him and out-striking him. That's what I want my legacy to be, to where if I get in there with an opponent who is superior in one aspect of mixed martial arts. I'm like, my friend, let me tell you something. This is mixed martial arts. I can take this in many different areas. And that's why I credit, Matt Hume and Brad Kirsten for making me have such a long amateur career in mixed martial arts, whether it was me doing kickboxing, boxing, MMA, grappling tournaments, shoot boxing, just doing different types of things to where nowadays everybody's such in a fucking rush to get to the picture. It's like, dude, take your time. You're 18. You're 18 years old. Go do a couple boxing fights. Go do jiu-jitsu tournaments. Go do a Muay Thai fight. That way, if you get in there with a certain person who specializes in one aspect, and you still have that nowadays where you can go up to a guy and be like, hey, what is your background? I specialize in Muay Thai. That is, I am a stand-up fighter. So it's like, so that makes me feel like you never did any grappling tournaments or any wrestling tournaments. Okay, so I know what your weakness is. So that's why that's a little rant on mine.
I like it. I like that rant. I know I can go on the record and predict this, and I know it's going to be true. You will be more appreciated when you're done fighting than you are now. You're one of those guys. I can't compare you. No one's coming to mind right now, but that's true, right? I mean, when this run is over, when you retire, when you're done doing something else, whatever that may be, people are going to look back on your run and your career way more fondly than they do now. You know that, right?
I hope so. I think you might be right. I think now everybody's all caught up with, they want the bad blood and the great sound bites, and they're looking for that. And I think for me, when I'm done fighting, I think people will truly appreciate how I'm able to mix it up, be fluid in my transitions, and look back how I carried myself as a champion to where I'm a humble guy, even in victory and defeat. When people beat me up, or when I get beat up, I always be dominant through shit. I was like, I'm so pissed at you, John, for suplex me 3 times in a row. But I still love you. You got great footwork. Or even when I beat John Dodson the second time and he was talking all this stuff and I can't hit hard, I was like, dude, even though you talk shit, congrats for being a father. I wish you the best in life. I wish you the best in your career. After I armbarred John Moraga, I was like, dude, it's not the end of the road for you. You'll be back. It's all about taking care of your family and paying bills. So congrats. Thank you for fighting me, and wishing the best of the career. And that's how it's going to be after me hitting you to fight.
Do you even look at the bottom of the division, the rising stars, the prospects? Like, are there certain guys that you're like, you know what, I have a feeling in a year or so he may be closer to my radar. He may be someone I'll have to prepare for. Do you look at that?
I don't look at it as they're going to be on my radar or I have to prepare for them, because I'm preparing for – when I prepare for my fights, I'm preparing to beat Matt Hume. I'm trying to compete with Matt Hume. That is my end-game goal, is to be able to tap out Matt Hume and give him fit and work him on the feet. That is my end-game goal. So I believe Matt Hume is the best fighter in the world. So when I am training for my fights and I'm fighting him, there's nobody in the octagon who's going to be able to put it together like Matt Hume can. So, but I do look at the guys that are very below the division who are coming up and say they're going to have great careers if they stay on this path.
Is there anyone in particular that you're super interested in, that you've been watching, that you think is going to be a player?
I think all of them. I honestly think all of them. I can't sit here and handpick one, because, I can say, oh, well, this person is going to be good. But, injuries play a factor in having a successful career. You look at Khabib Nurmagomedov. I mean, he's an amazing, amazing athlete. Amazing fighter. He's undefeated. But the thing that's keeping him out of, the octagon is his injury. So that plays a factor in people's career. And I can't just say, oh, this guy's going to be great. But wife he gets a woman pregnant. They have 5 kids. I don't know. Shit. Anything can happen.
That's another thing that I feel like is overlooked. You might be the most reliable champion in UFC history, right? Have you ever pulled out of a fight?
I pulled out of one fight because I needed surgery. And once I pulled out, I got surgery, and I pulled out of my fight against John Moraga in March, and then I got surgery once I pulled out on my labrum, and then I fought him in July. So I was like, hey, I go get a Band-Aid on my arm, then go get surgery. Once I got out of surgery, I was in physical therapy and training for the fight. Then we ended up fighting in July. So that's the only time I ever pulled out of a fight.
Was that announced yet when you pulled out? I don't remember. Or was it being just...
Yeah, it was announced.
It was?
It was announced because we were going to fight on the Ultimate Fighter.
Okay.
The main event, I believe. But then I was training, and Matt was like, do this. And I was like, Matt, I can't fucking do it. And he goes, why? And I was like, it hurts. And he goes, you need to get an MRI. And then I got an MRI, and he goes, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, I don't want you to think I was a bitch. And he goes, dude, like, that's the last thing I think you're going to be. Like, when you're hurting, you need to tell me that. That way we can work around training. And sure enough, my labrum was so blown, he was like, you need to get surgery. And then I tried to fight it, but Matt was like, get surgery. I mean, you can be a tough guy and try to go out there and fight, but what if you lose and your arm blows out, whatever. You know, get surgery. You can have this fight. The fight's not going anywhere. You know, you're still young. Just go get surgery. So I did.
Do you pay attention to, what Conor is making these days, and Nate and some of these other guys? And are you?
Goddamn right I do.
Are you?
Hell yeah, man. First man, shout out to Conor McGregor for making 7 figures on first fight ever to make 7 figures in a UFC payout. But yes, I do pay attention to that.
And are you close there? Do you feel like you should be closer? How do you feel about what you're getting?
I honestly do believe I should be closer.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the skill set I bring in the octagon. And obviously everybody can look back at UFC 191 and see what my disclosed play is, and that's another one of my goals is to inch my way closer to those big paydays. And shout out to Nate Diaz and both those guys for setting the pedestal for us fighters to get paid more. I mean, we go out there and we work our asses off. In the UFC, they work their asses off too with promoting the fight and try to sell tickets. And I think it's great those guys getting paid more, but absolutely I would love to see Demetrious Johnson, Demetrious Johnson, UFC 197 payout, $500K payout, baby.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amen to that. How many fights left on your contract?
I have to look. I think we're getting close. I think I got 3 left.
Are you looking forward to that? Are you gonna, do what a lot of fighters are doing now and try to test the waters, or at least try to, not sign before you're done, as was the the norm back in the day before the contract was up?
To be honest with you, I always let Matt Hume deal with that.
Okay.
Matt Hume, we sit down and when we talk about it, and Matt Hume wants the best for me, for my family, for my children. And I'm sure, the biggest thing right now is going out there and fight. At the end of the day, when I was first fighting in the UFC, Matt was like, dude, just go out there and fight and win. If you just win, everything else will take care of itself. Now I've been winning, for a long damn time. And I'm hoping now that everything will start to take care of itself. But when we get closer to, that part in my career, then me and Matt Hume will sit down and talk about it, and we will go from there.
All right. Well, for now, we appreciate your time. It is, I love this fight. This is going to be fun. April 23rd, Las Vegas, UFC 197. What a great main and co-main event, a true co-main event. Demetrious Johnson versus Henry Cejudo for the flyweight title, and of course, Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier for the light heavyweight title. What a 1-2 punch that is. Always a pleasure. It has been too long, my friend. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. I know you're going to train now, so I appreciate some time here on a Monday.
Absolutely, or anytime. You got my number, dog. Just hit me up.
You're my man. There he is, Demetrious Johnson. We appreciate him very much, the flyweight champion of the UFC. Big fight for him coming up in less than a month, and interesting comments there regarding his pay, and certainly one of the more underappreciated fighters in UFC history. I think that's a very, very valid point, and a point that could be argued easily, at least in my opinion. Anyhow, let's move along now and welcome in one of my favorite men. Wow, look at that. Look at this studious man. The master himself, Renzo Gracie. Can he hear me? Is he no-selling me? I don't know what's going on over there. Rocking the hipster glasses, Roots of Fight shirt. Oh, there he is. Renzo, how are you?
Handsome devil, huh?
Yes. What are you reading over there?
I was checking an old book that I read in Portuguese a while back. The Age of Uncertainty by Galbraith. Beautiful, unbelievable book.
Wow.
I was just thinking that I never read in English, but I'm gonna go this week to grab it so I can read it in the original version.
Have you read all those books behind you?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, all of them.
Which is your favorite?
I love this Galbraith one. I have. It's difficult to say a favorite, but Guns, Germs, and Steel is unbelievable.
Okay.
I love the Greek history, like everything. I read about politics in Brazil, and I have not only what is behind me, but I have a whole closet full of books.
Who introduced?
If I grab any more, my father.
Your father.
My father always read a lot. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea you were this philosophical, this learned.
Can you believe? not only a thug, but a thinker too. So
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, always a pleasure to talk to you and see you. Thank you for coming on. A lot I want to talk to you about. First things first, I mean, we were just talking to Marc Ratner about this, New York passing the bill to legalize MMA. You are one of the most famous, mixed martial artists in the state of New York. You have your gym there. You have been there for years and years and years. Now that the sport is legalized or about, it's a formality the governor has to sign. But what does this do for your business?
It's my business is already very profitable and very nice. It's like if it gets better, you'll be unbelievable. There's always room to improve. Definitely, I would love if it gets better. If we're able to get more by having fights next to my academy, because I'm a block away from Madison Square Garden, for sure I will get a lot of new students. So I can't wait for that to happen. But I don't look as only a way for me to benefit from. I see as the martial art community to benefit from. We're going to have a whole new industry, a whole new field to be able to profit and to grow the name of martial arts. And I believe New York is the windows of the world. Anything that shines here will shine everywhere in the globe. So I can't wait to see a beautiful UFC event at Madison Square Garden.
Was it ever awkward for you that you can have this business, you can have people train there, you can have some of the best fighters in the world at your gym, and yet it was technically illegal?
I already have them there. What are you talking about?
Yes, but it was illegal. Isn't that weird? Wasn't that a strange thing to wrap your head around?
Definitely. It's I'm really surprised it took that long. I'm really surprised it took that long, but I'm glad finally the politicians, after even saying no, even though some of them have no common sense at all when they were on the floor trying to advocate against, but it's beautiful to see that now MMA is part of New York.
It's amazing. In 2016, people still think this way about our sport, but I guess that'll always be the case. By the way, your old friend...
My dear friend.
Yes.
My dear friend, a few decades ago, Elvis Presley could not be filmed by the waist down.
That's true.
You can't expect to break ground from one day to the other.
It's a very good point.
It's not about them accepting us. It's about them swallowing us. Now we are here. Deal with it.
Your old friend, George St. Pierre, I believe is in New York right now. Have you seen him?
Oh, yes.
What's going on there? If one man can give us the scoop, you can give us the scoop. What's going on? Is he coming back?
He's coming back for sure. That boy, the best thing he does in life is fighting. Look for how long he's been a champion. He overcomes so many obstacles, so many things that people don't know. George used to come from Canada, leaving 4:30 in the morning, come to New York by bus, train the whole day, and leave at night.
Wow. Wow.
So it's like this 2, sometimes 3 times a week.
Wow.
So like a champion is not just born; he's forged into it. And George has all the tools to become a champion again. And for sure, he's now 100% healthy. Like I saw him, he's in unbelievable shape, and for sure, he'll be announcing soon to be back in the game.
This is very exciting. What do you think? What do you think is his return fight? Who will he fight?
Whoever is the champion, I think he deserves and he earns throughout his life work a straight shot to the champion. So whoever the champion is on that weight division, for sure, George is coming after him.
And you have no concerns because of the time off that he might be a little rusty or, he's older. You have no concerns about that?
No. How old is he now?
Oh, I think he's in his mid-30s. I will check it up as we are.
Yeah, this is the thing. In my head, it's like my kids. They're going to be kids forever. So I saw George when he was 16.
34.
17.
34.
34 is after they create Viagra. A man of 7 years old is just a kid. Well, what are you talking about a 34-year-old? He's on his prime.
That is true. That is a good point. You've been in the news I'm on my Twitter last week, and all of a sudden everyone's writing to me, Renzo Gracie is on Monday Night Raw talking about Shane McMahon before his match at WrestleMania against The Undertaker, and I've been following him on Twitter. He's with Crew Phil Nurse. He's with you. How long have you been training with Shane McMahon, Shane O'Mac?
To be honest, today his secretary called me because I'm going to go meet him later today.
Okay.
And she goes, should I reach you on this number? So she gave me a 732-890-0163. I go, please tell Shane not to give this number to nobody because this number was my first number when I came to the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I don't have that number for the past 12 years or 10 years. So Shane has been training with us for a long time.
Wow. I had
So
no
yeah,
idea.
yeah, and in reality, Shane trained jiu-jitsu for a long time. He was every day at the academy at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the partner that I had trained with him was Hollis because it's his size.
Yeah.
He's 6'4", 250, so he could put up with Shane. If I had trained with him every day the way that he was training, I probably have no joints today.
So when he walked,
And
go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was just curious. When he walks in for the first
and
time,
he's in great shape now. Like
it looks like it from the videos, from everything I've seen. Did you know who he was? Like when he walked in, did you know that he was the son of this guy, Vince McMahon, all that?
I knew more or less. Right after the first week he began, then I learned it. But you have to understand, I'm extremely smart for a lot of things and extremely dumb for others. It's like, to me, anybody that walk in the academy is extremely important. Every student I have is a Shane McMahon for me, and I think for that reason, they always give me back. They see this and in reality, I knew he was having a match back. He was coming back. And he was kind enough to go, Renzo, I want to promote your school. I love your school so much. And this place received me like I was part of the family. And I felt I was home here. And I want to give back to jiu-jitsu. I say jiu-jitsu is a great sport. I love to train jiu-jitsu. So can I do the promotion here at your academy? I say, Shane, this is your house. It was always your house.
Wow.
If a white belt asked me to do this, I allowed him. Imagine you. So I'm very happy and I'm very glad to be next to him at that moment.
Of course, we know that pro wrestling is scripted, and we see some clips. But is he actually training for this, like like a George training for a fight, or a Chris Weidman? Like, is he coming to the gym all the time and doing everything like a fighter training for an MMA fight?
Yeah, man, he's in the best shape of his life. I never seen nobody on that shape. He dropped probably like 25, 30 pounds.
Wow.
He's cut. He's moving he's a heavyweight, moving like a lightweight. I don't know if you noticed, but we're getting cut on and off a little bit. Have you noticed that?
For me, it's all good. Over here, it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. For me, it's fair. I think you got to stop buying your equipment at Chinatown, man. You got to stop with that.
You've been perfect. You've been perfect for me.
Thank you. It's great. But the reality is, man, those guys are top athletes. Look at Brock Lesnar. What an amazing athlete, a real wrestler. Look how good he did at the UFC. So it would be great to see more of them interacting and fighting in different events and trying new grounds. And I love WWE. Nobody brought more attention to fighting than they did. They really did an unbelievable job. You see people fall in love with you. A lot of the fans that we have today came from them. And they do an unbelievable work. I had a chance to see their work in Japan. It's beautiful. I've seen the crowded arena, the TV shows they have there, all over Asia. So it's like anything that brings fighting to a pedestal, I worship and I love it, And I admire those guys as an athlete. And believe it, my friend, I fought laymen who were very good athletes. They made me sweat, So especially those guys who have knowledge and they spend their life dedicated to what people don't realize. These guys are on the road 300, sometimes 360 days a year. They have a chance to go home for a week.
Yeah.
They work hard. And they do shows 3-4 times. And it's unbelievable. I really admire the work ethic, the way that they do it, and everything that they do it.
So will you be going to Dallas?
I won't be able to. I have to travel soon. I'm setting up some business on the side here to make sure that I don't depend of my daughter changing my diapers when I grow old.
What are you working on?
But I'm working in some construction, in some healthcare company.
Wow, look at you.
I've been working a lot with a healthcare company, so it's really taking shape. And I do hope that one day I can help America to be healthier and better in terms of healthcare.
You're like a more likable Donald Trump.
Much better.
Yeah.
He's a buffoon. We got to build a wall in front of him. He wants to build a wall. The only place I think he should have built a wall is across from his mouth, to close his mouth. But the reality, this is the beauty of America. Even he could be president, he still wouldn't be able to do this nonsense that he claimed he would do. In reality, this great country has great people behind the administration, and they will put him in his place and show him the right direction to go.
I was talking to crew Phil Nurse about Shane, and he said he has no doubt about the fact that if Shane was, in his prime 20 years ago when this sport was coming up, that he would be an MMA fighter. That's what he loves doing. He loves MMA, and he has the talent and athleticism to be a fighter. Do you agree with him?
Yes, 100%. I remember when he began training jiu-jitsu, he fell in love. He loved, and every time he trains, he gives everything he has. And his ability, his athleticism. Look what he does on the pro wrestling. How easy. I don't know if you know, but when they pick athletes to play American football, they pick them. They have a criteria only for their athleticism. Because to play the ball will be easy, if you are a gifted athlete.
Yeah.
And the same thing will be for fighting. You got a guy like this who's naturally an extremely good athlete, always in shape, has the driving force to fight, to put everything he got on every training session he does. He'll be an unbelievable fighter. And I don't know why Phil Nurse said 20 years ago. It's like if we push the right buttons, we get this guy to jump in a cage for sure.
It's amazing. He's a daredevil. Yeah. I want to ask you about just a couple more things before I let you go. And again, it's great to have you on. And congratulations, by the way, on the Roots of Fight Renzo Gracie gear. They actually hooked me up with one.
Did you like it?
Beautiful.
Those guys are amazing. Jazz is the best.
Yeah.
I love everything they do. I have a Tyson one here now from them. Look, and I have a BJ one here. I have the whole collection here in my closet. And the beauty, what I like them even more, it's because they don't pick any model that is better looking than me. Maybe The Rock. Because The Rock looks a little bit like me in a bigger size, But
just hearing you say the name BJ gets me excited because I think back to my favorite line in MMA history about him being in his father's nutsack when you were still fighting. The greatest line ever. There will never be a better one than that. By the way, what's your take on this debate? People were criticizing Conor McGregor for tapping and saying that Holly Holm, she's tougher because supposedly she didn't tap. Is there, and you would know about this because you were in that position with Sakuraba, is there honor in not tapping in your opinion?
Definitely. It's a compliment to your opponent if you don't tap. So this shows that he fought a much greater fighter, So we always saw it that way. And I always, one thing that I was wondering, I say, because I was technical enough to spend my whole amateur career, my whole life in a competition without being caught on nothing.
Wow.
The first time I was actually caught was by Sakuraba on the arm lock. And I was extremely glad when I left because I made sure that my mind was stronger than my ligaments and my body, and that was a victory of my mind over my body. And for sure I was sure that I was a samurai that day, and my whole life I was wondering if I would or would not. So that gift that Sakuraba gave me was something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Wow. So you would advise to a young fighter, up-and-coming fighter, not to tap ever?
I cannot. How can I advise that? Nobody ever told me that. There was an unwritten rule that I abide for it. It's like each person chooses how they want to live their life. It's like Muhammad Ali said, greatness is not it's not on the ring, it's on the gym, it's on the hard work that you put it on and on the beliefs that you have, and this is the biggest truth. It's you choose your path, you choose how you want people to remember you. It's been over 15 years. I don't even know when that was.
Yeah.
And you ask me about that moment again.
Yeah.
That's how important it was,
Yeah.
Which is exactly like when I beat Pat Miletich, and every support that I had in the arena jumped in the ring and they lift me up. And I remember the security trying to kick them out. And as they lifted me up, I was telling the security, leave them, let them be. After that, you know how many times the owners of IFL asked me to try to reproduce that moment? I told them it's impossible. We cannot reproduce that. That just happens. And I was glad you guys let it happen. Let everyone that I knew and that was supporting me on that arena jump in the ring and lift me up. So it's those are rare moments that people are going to be talking about for the rest of your life. All you have to see is a picture and the moment comes to your life. Like, you're going to go through generations. So McGregor could have not tapped, definitely. But it's up to him. It's, like he's definitely a great fighter. I love the way that he fights. I actually watched the fight again last night before I went to bed.
Wow.
And I was able to see it in an even different way. He fought very well. Nate just is a bigger frame and was able to put up with the punishment. And when he had a chance to finish the fight, he did it extremely well. Like even when he took McGregor's back and he was sinking in the choke, you see McGregor defending. He did a perfect punch on the side of the head to lift his jaw. The hand was right in and the choke was on. So it was a brilliant fight from Nate. And I'm glad that it happened. That victory happened to Nate because it couldn't happen to better guys. Him and his brother are unbelievable human beings.
Gosh, I can listen to you speak all day. It's just there's something about the way you speak. It is so damn captivating. But we have run out of time. Let me just ask you about this. What about you? Are you competing? Are we done? Sometimes you give us hints here and there. You tease us.
I'm never done.
Okay.
I'm never done. I had the opportunity to go watch Bellator.
Yeah.
And Richard Chow and his boss grabbed me on the backstage. They go, "What about you? You want to come back? Maybe until the end of the year we get you here." I look at them and say, "What are you guys doing? Trying to set up a geriatric clinic here? I cannot fight old people, old like me. I gotta fight.
Right.
If I fight, I'll jump in with the young boys. I want to feel the pressure. And if I had my ass kicked, may that be epic. By a good guy. That's what I value."
So you considering it?
But for sure. My knee is better now. I actually had a torn ACL before my last grappling match with Sakuraba a day before.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough that didn't swallow like the first time that happened fighting Carlos Newton. And I could fight the next day. I was able to fight, and then after that I couldn't move. My knee wouldn't move anymore. But I was lucky to be able to have that grappling match with him. And I redid the ACL. I put a cadaver one, and I'm back 100%. I just begun training again, and by the end of by this year, I want to have some fun again with the.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Well, stay tuned for that. Again, Renzo, thank you so much. A pleasure as always. Like I said, I could talk to you for hours, but I appreciate your time here. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Man.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Renzo.
guys. Thank
Obrigado to the master, Renzo Gracie himself. Wow, there's nothing like listening to that man speak. He's just so damn captivating. And now he says, and do you hear what he said? Yeah, he'll fight, but he doesn't want to fight the old guys. He doesn't want to fight the old guys. Unbelievable. He wants to fight the young guys. There's only one Renzo Gracie. Amazing stuff. Thank you very much to him. Okay, let's move along from one of the best talkers in the world to the best in the world. My old pal CM Punk is joining us right now. CM Punk, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little upset that I'm interrupting and I guess technically ending the Renzo Gracie interview because that just sucks. I'd rather just listen to him.
How inspiring is that, man? Right? Don't you feel like going on a run right now or doing a few rounds? I mean, he gets me so damn excited.
I wish I could go on a run right now. Yeah, he's great. He's great to listen to, and the nicest guy in the world too.
That is very true. Very, very true. Okay, well, let's talk about you. A lot of people curious to hear about you and get an update or so. Recently, you went under the knife, had back surgery. How did it go?
Yeah, it went very well. The doctor even showed my wife a picture of what the part of the disc he cut out. I unfortunately didn't get to see it.
Oh,
that's a little disappointing. Yeah, and she almost barfed. So it went really well. I woke up in the hospital and I was immediately pain-free. I could tell right away.
So wait, why couldn't they take a picture or show it to you? You couldn't see it after the fact?
Well, I don't know. I was anesthetized, so I was still sleeping, and
right.
He immediately when he was like, oh hey, he emerged from surgery and was like, okay, he's done. He's in the recovery room. It all went well. Hey, check this out, and shoved the phone in her face, and she was like, ugh.
Wow.
Which is it's pretty cool. But I didn't know until I was awake, and he was already probably operating on somebody else, so I didn't get a chance to see it. Maybe I'll try to ask him. I'm seeing him tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, first things first, how serious was the surgery? I mean, was there a chance that this would end your athletic career? I mean, you hear back surgery, that's kind of scary stuff. How serious was it?
Yeah, as far as back surgery goes, I don't think it was the most serious thing, but it certainly wasn't a walk in the park either. I basically just had a herniated disc, and it was, I guess, pretty herniated. I don't know if you wanted to call it ruptured or whatever, but it was explained to me that, the disc had herniated and it was pushing on a nerve, and that was pretty much the source of all my troubles.
Wow. Is this something that you had been dealing with for years? Have you had back problems in the past? Was it something that was aggravated doing something in particular? How long has this been an issue?
It's been an issue for a very long time.
Really?
I just chalked it up to, I have a bad back. I wonder how that could have happened. And for the longest time, I've been doing regularly routine acupuncture, massage, chiro. I bought an inversion table. I bought a TENS unit. You name it, any kind of therapy I could possibly do, I was doing it. And it eventually just got even worse, and it got so bad that I went in one day to roll. I was in my gi. It was we were drilling, doing I think triangle chokes, and every time I had a triangle locked up on me, I would felt this odd pressure in my hip. So that's when I was like, that's something's wrong here. So we aggressively tried to figure out what it was after that.
And you said that you have an appointment tomorrow with your doctor. What is this to clear you? Are you close to 100% as far as how you're feeling? What's this for?
I think this is just a routine. I'll be 6 weeks post-op on Wednesday, so I think that's just kind of how the schedule goes. I'll see him tomorrow. I talked to him extensively on the phone yesterday to go over like a whole bunch of stuff, asking me how I was feeling and everything else. It doesn't sound like he's really clearing me 100%, but it's also more or less on me and how I feel, because everybody recuperates at a different rate.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing he doesn't want me to do is, jump into the deep end of the pool, so to speak, and re-injure it. I guess they tell you all the statistics of 10% of people wind up, re-herniating the same disc and all that. And he just wants to make sure it's is completely scarred over and as healed as it's possibly going to get before I start doing like wrestling and, grappling and stuff like that, where there's a chance I get taken down and I fall awkwardly on it and stuff like that. But I took it upon myself. I always try to go above and beyond, and I try to push it a little bit more. I've been biking like a maniac. I do what I can, and I push it, but I'm not trying to push this one too much, because I think it's your back. It's a pretty serious thing, but I've been staying in shape.
So are you able to go to the gym and do jiu-jitsu or wrestling, or do you have to wait for that clearance?
No, that's like the big one. I'm not going to put myself in a position where anybody can, fall on me, or I can get taken down, or, thrown against a cage or anything like that. We did talk yesterday, and he does seem to think it's probably okay if I start boxing. Not sparring, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And the other night, I think I did a few rounds. It's like I'm dipping my toe back in the pool, and normally I'd be pretty gung ho about it. I was with the shoulder, and I was doing stuff on my shoulder before I was, cleared, and before I probably supposed to. But I know my body. But this one, I'm really kind of trying to be reserved about it. So I did some bad work the other night. And I felt great. Like, I always wait till the next morning to see how I feel. I wasn't extra sore. It didn't feel like I tweaked anything. It didn't hurt anything. So to me, that's a big hurdle. So as long as I can start kind of doing that, that was really the first MMA training I've done in 6 weeks since the surgery.
To get this news essentially hours after you finally found out who your opponent will be, I mean, mentally, how did you process it? You've had setbacks along the way. You've had your ups and downs, but it seemed like, there was that light beaming from the end of the tunnel, and then, there's another setback. How did you deal with it?
Well, I tried not to dwell on it. There's plenty of time after the surgery to sit around and feel sorry for myself. But, thankfully, the silver lining is we didn't actually have a date. I have an opponent that's fantastic. I felt like shit about it. Like I wanted to tell everybody, but it was also like a case of, let's just see where this goes and see what happens. I mean, I got the MRI Friday night, and I was literally diagnosed Saturday right before I walked out to watch Mickey and Michael Jackson fight. And so I wasn't trying to necessarily think about me and my back. I was just watching the fight, And if I would have thought about it then and there, what do you do? I just try not to get too down about it.
So, but internally, did it feel weird being there, watching that, knowing that this was probably a reality, and then in a couple of days, that things were, you couldn't tell the world, people are excited, everyone's excited, yet internally you have news that is a bit of a bummer, that delays all of this.
It's certainly a bitter pill to swallow, but there's a flip side coin that I was trying to focus on, was that, holy shit, I have a herniated disc, and I have had this herniated disc, and who knows how long I've had it. I was relieved to get properly diagnosed. And it was exciting almost to go, okay, we can take care of this. And then when I come back, I'll be 100%. Because there's always little things. Or, when we drill wrestling, you shoot in on a double or a single, and you switch, and you lift the guy up for strength and conditioning. I always had trouble with that, and I've always been a strong guy for my size, and it was always kind of almost befuddling me, and I just kind of chalked it up like, I just got a bad back. I was a wrestler for a while, so maybe I'm just weak. Maybe these guys they're not helping me. Like in pro wrestling, guys jump for you. These guys aren't. So maybe that's just the way it is. I would, if I got taken down, sometimes that put me on the shelf for like a couple of days. So it was a relief to go, oh, wow, remember that when that happened in the gym, or remember when I did this. And there's been things that I've omitted from training just because it bothered me. On days where I would work on kicks all day, like it fucked me up the next day. And now we've taken care of it, and that won't happen anymore. So that, I was really in that moment when I was watching the fight, just kind of excited for, oh man, let's fix this. And I'm not going to have that nagging, literally pain in my ass anymore.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, but I got a lot of heat that day because people were blaming me for the injury.
Because I picked you up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all your fault, Helwani.
I'm an anxious Jew. I'm a guilt-ridden Jew, and then I had to deal with all of that. Can you tell the world it wasn't my fault?
You're in the wrong job if you're an anxious Jew, or you just don't listen to what other people say. No, it wasn't your fault.
Thank
you.
There's
this little thing I did for 20 years prior to me lifting you up on that night of pro wrestling. It might have had something more to do with my back injury than me lifting you up.
How did the UFC brass react to the news?
Wonderfully, in my opinion. I was in with Dana and Lorenzo, and we were talking, and Dr. Sanders just came up and he goes, "All right, here it is," and he laid it all on the table for us, and of course Dana lets out this big sigh, and he's like, "Oh, we can't get a break." So I immediately go into, well, maybe there's a shot I can get, maybe I can do, cortisone, like whatever, like. And Lorenzo and Dana stopped me, and they went, no, we're not. It is what it is. Like, we just want you to get fixed and get healthy. We got shows every month. Don't worry about it. It's just the timing sucks. Literally about to walk out and do this thing. And but they were great. It's hard not to compare and contrast to where I used to work before, but it was just a relief to finally have a boss who was just like, no, just get fixed. Want you 100%. Want you to be healthy. Not interested in throwing a Band-Aid on a bullet wound just to, parade you out in front of people. So it was a relief, and it felt nice.
In the past, you were probably told, like, okay, 2 weeks, we'll see you. Take a week off, right? Get in front of the people.
2 weeks would have been a vacation.
Yeah.
And I realize people are going to cut this up and take these quotes out of context, but this is an interview, and this is what it is. This is my life, and I was just relieved. I was doing it internally in my head myself. That's just because that's the way I'm wired, and that's the way it's always been. I was going, well, maybe we can do this, and maybe we can just kind of make sure I'm, let's just get to the fight, And they stopped everything ice cold, and they said no. Like, how long have you been in pain? And I was like, I don't know, years. I couldn't even tell you, So yeah, it's just a relief for me.
In the past, you said June, July. That was what you were targeting. What's a realistic target now for your debut? Are you able to zero in?
Know.
It's too soon.
I don't know. We're not. Yeah. Well, part of me, I've learned from my past mistakes, and I'm not going to say a date that everyone's going to, get married to, and then I'm going to have to hear about how I'm never going to fight. You know, I'm going to fight. It's going to be this year, and like I said, I see the doctor tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about with him all kinds of other extracurricular things I can do to probably speed this along, you know, like see if I can start doing acupuncture again and things like that. You know, in my mind, that card at the Garden would be a nice second fight. But I don't know how realistic that is because, I don't want to say things that people are going to, you know, be taking to heart. And it's always the people that say they don't want to watch me fight anyway. So it's very strange. Don't worry, haters. I'm going to fight, and it's going to be fucking fun and awesome, and you're going to be real upset. It's just, I just don't want to say anything. Because like I said, I've learned my lesson. I have optimistic goals. I've always had optimistic goals, and we're just going to see if my back can cooperate with that.
But you can say rather confidently that it will happen in 2016, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you know, you did tweet about the Garden. You're the only guy on the roster who can claim that in the past he has or she has sold out the Garden. So that's not a crazy thing. I mean, I think people would think it's crazier if you didn't want to fight at the Garden, right? I mean, that's got to be a goal. That's understandable. But the fact that you say it's your second fight and not your first, I think is very interesting. So we can see 2 fights in the span of 7 months here. At least that's something that you're thinking.
I mean, it's something I want for sure. You know, and yeah, I think it's great that MMA finally got legalized in New York. I think it's, you know, I heard you talk to Renzo about it. I think it's ridiculous that it's taken this long. But just like he said, and this is something I say a lot too, you know, he said just a couple decades ago, you know, you couldn't shoot Elvis Presley, you know, from the waist down. And like, you know, this country, if you really think about it, like, you know, segregation wasn't that long ago. But now we got MMA in New York, and I think it's very exciting. And I'm happy for all the fighters in New York who, you know, now they might not have to get on a flight to fight, and they're where they live. I think that's super exciting.
How often do you think about Mickey Gall?
Oh, not often. I'm sure he's training his ass off as he should be, but it doesn't consume me or anything like that. I'm more concerned about what I do and the things I do.
But just the fact that the difference now when we speak here today as opposed to in the past, there is a guy, there is a name, there is a face. That doesn't help fuel you. That doesn't give you don't start, you know, thinking about his one fight or looking at the first fight. It doesn't change at all. It doesn't make it more real. It doesn't help you get up in the morning. Nothing like that.
No. It for sure definitely does. It lights a fire under your ass, you know. But having back surgery, you know, it kind of puts a damper on all that. So, you know, I focus on positive things, and I tend to be internal, and I'm working right now to get back to 100%, and then I can worry about Mickey.
Was there any talk, as far as you're concerned, of having him fight someone else while you recovered from the surgery? And if so, would you have been upset if that happened?
No, nobody said anything like that to me about it. And if he wanted to fight somebody else, but you know, I think if he fights somebody else and he loses, I think that I don't know if it hurts his chances, but I think it lessens the attraction, so to speak. You know, I realize for him, I'm a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody wants to see him fight unless it's me, but I'm not stopping him. You know, I mean, I get it. You know, I know once I fight, I'm going to want to stay active. I'm not going to want to be one of these guys that takes, you know, months off at a time and stuff like that. You know, and everybody in my gym is like that. Everybody wants to stay ready, and everybody wants to fight. And I just want to get the first one out of the way.
2 last quick things. I know you had to take a bit of a pause on everything, but I've seen pictures of you training with the great Izzy Martinez, and of course I know that you're training at Rufus Sport in Milwaukee. Have you zeroed in yet on who might be cornering you when you do fight? Do you know who those 3-4 people will be?
Well, I think, I mean, the top 2, it's going to be Duke and Daniel Wanderlei for sure. He's the jiu-jitsu coach, and he's amazing. I think the third person really kind of depends on who's on the card, who else is fighting. You know what I mean? Because for wrestling, it'd be either Ben or Izzy. You know, and Ben's an active fighter still, so there might be a chance that he might not be able to corner me. You know what I mean? And I'm fortunate enough to be able to be like, oh, who could do it? Oh, it's Izzy. So, you know, we'll have to see. But Coach Cush could also, you know, great striking coach at Rufus Sport. I mean, hell, I could have any number of guys corner me. So there's definitely not a lack of depth on the team.
And I know we were talking about dates and all that, and I respect the fact that you don't want to zero in. But is there any chance in the world, UFC 200, you fight on that one? It's still wide open. Is that a possibility at all, or is that too soon?
What's the date?
July 9th?
July 9th, and it is almost April, right?
Yeah. 3 days away.
I mean, God, a 10% chance.
Okay.
I don't think. I'm leaning towards no, but you never know. And if my doctor's kind of steering me away from still doing anything that really kind of loads my spine and everything like that, like I'm dying to deadlift and squat here. You know what I mean? But I'm not doing it because I don't want to jeopardize anything. So he cleared me to go ahead and box. So I'm probably going to just wind up focusing on that a little bit.
Final thing, and I can't thank you enough for the time. Really, it means the world. I really appreciate you.
Who's next? Whose time am I cutting into?
Next we have UFC strawweight champion, one of our favorites, Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Let's wrap this up. This up. I don't need her beating the shit out of me. Come on.
Okay. Just final thing. And this time I don't want to talk about the haters, Twitter, all that stuff, because we've exhausted that. But the fact that now the narrative has become like, will he fight? Not when will you fight? People questioning, will you fight? Do you internalize any of that? Do you use that as motivation? Do you listen to any of that anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the kind of guy that focuses on positive stuff, because when you're alone and you're in your own thoughts, you can drive yourself crazy listening to the negative. But yeah, the negative stuff, the haters, that drives me. Proving people wrong is something I've done my entire life, and not only I think I'm good at it, it's fun. When you get people that say, "Oh, you can't do that," and I think it's more indicative. It's less about me, and it's more about their own insecurities. I really just want to show everybody like the positive side of it. Like, yeah, fuck you. Yeah, we can do this. And, it's for every kid out there that's ever been told, no, you can't do something. And then they actually listen to that and they believe it. I've never been one that's believed it. More oftentimes than not, somebody tells me I can't do something. That makes me want to do it even more. But I also realize that when it's coming from a figure of authority, a parent, a teacher, or something like that, that can be really discouraging to kids, or even grown-ups, grown-ass people, So if anything, if anybody can take anything away from it, is, hey, we all die. It's going to happen to all of us, and before that happens, just make sure you do everything you possibly can to make sure your life was meaningful and fun.
Well, you know this, and I'll say it again. Wish you the very best. I hope that appointment goes well tomorrow. I can't wait. You got a fan in me, my man. I am anxiously awaiting this, and I know no one's, more excited about it all than you and your family. So get well soon. Again, appreciate the time. Appreciate you coming on. It means the world, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. Tell Joanna my wife loves her. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Okay, I will do that. There he is. The best in the world, CM Punk, joining us. A pleasure, as always, to talk to him. And I do echo those sentiments. Really appreciate him coming on and giving us an update on his condition. Okay, let us move along. Now let's go to Poland, where the UFC strawweight champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, is standing by. There she is. Wow, what a pleasure. It's great to have you back on. How are you, Joanna?
Hi, guys. I don't know what to say. Good evening, because it's late in Poland, but hi, guys.
By the way, did you hear that?
To talk to you.
CM Punk said his wife is a huge fan of yours. That's pretty cool.
I love you. I love you too. I love all of you, and I love all my haters.
Oh.
Because I'm stronger.
Wait, you don't have any haters.
But let's not talk about, okay?
If there's one person in this sport that doesn't have haters, I think it's you. Everyone loves you.
Hey, come on. Even I have some guy, his nickname is Joanna Hater.
Oh.
That's cool. And one day he loves me, but the other day he hates me, so I don't know what he wants to know.
Do you look at your...
I don't care. I'm happy with all of them.
Yes, you should be. But do you look at your Twitter and stuff? Do you read that stuff?
I don't. Like, I love Instagram. I'm trying to respond to my fans, even to my haters, and they're happy.
Okay, so right now, enough about the haters. Right now you're in Poland, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am. I just back from my parents' house. I'm full of food because it's Easter, so lots of food. You could see the picture on my Instagram.
Yes.
So Christmas and Easter, very important day for us Polish Catholics. So yeah, it was a good day. Last day of cheating, and tomorrow I'm ready to eat proper and train hard.
Well, happy Easter to you and your family and everyone in Poland. But it's interesting that you are in Poland because after The Ultimate Fighter, following your social media, Instagram, Twitter, I saw you all over the United States. You were in Albuquerque, you were in Denver, you were in California, training with different teams. What was going on over there? Why were you jumping around from gym to gym?
I was supposed to go to New York, to see you guys, to meet you, but I couldn't.
What happened?
Didn't have enough time,
Okay.
Didn't have enough time. So what happened? Yeah, I stayed 2 weeks after the TAP. I had some media obligations, but I cannot talk about, and I had few appointments with my maybe future sponsors. That's all what I've been doing.
But what about, I saw you training with Dwayne Ludwig and TJ Dillashaw, with Holly Holm.
Yeah, of course. Like the main thing was training for me. It's always the main thing is training. Yeah, even I'm busy with some other stuff, with some business or some media obligations. There is always a way to find time for training. So this is what I've been doing.
So we
and I was really enjoying to train with different people in different places. It was really great lesson for me.
So we thought that maybe you were looking for a new team. Is that true?
No, isn't. I'm back to Poland. I start my camp already. I've been training for 6 weeks in Vegas with Robert Dreisel, but my head coaches were there. So I've been training every day. But now it's time for real camp, and so I'm going to train twice a day. And I'm focused on my fight, and I'm going to stay in Poland and prepare for my next fight here.
Of all the places that you went to, coaches, gyms, which did you enjoy the most? Which one did you really like? Denver, Jackson's in Albuquerque, Kings. Which one did you really like?
Wow. I met so many great coaches, great people. Like every gym is different, but like I said, every gym is like very good, Like in Denver, very good structure. The gym is just perfect. It's like one big lab, there is everything, I like Albuquerque because of the people there, the trainers. The training was very good. So yeah.
Did it open your eyes to training in America as opposed to your training in Poland? Are you going to do anything differently now after maybe what you learned in America?
No, I'm gonna be focused on the same things. I'm gonna have some extra surprise for Gadela, July 8th. That's all. Of course, UFC would like to have me in US, but even for me, it could be more easy to live there. But it's all about good training, good coaches, good sparring partners. I know what to expect from me, from my coaches, from my sparring partners in Poland. So. Better to stay here and be focused on my next fight. Maybe in the future, I'm going to move to US.
Okay. How is your hand, by the way? Are you 100% healthy?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, there it is. All right, the moneymaker. And so it's
good. It's very good.
And of course, you just wrapped The Ultimate Fighter. That premieres in April on FS1, and I know we can't talk about it all that much. I just want to ask you one question about it. Was it better than you expected? Did you have more fun with it? The expectations as opposed to what actually happened. Did you enjoy it more, less? What are your thoughts?
It was nice, very good experience. I'm very happy about that I was part of. And I used to do the same reality show in Poland, little bit different, small production, but was more for TV, for people to sell it. But tough is really, people, real people, real emotions, real situations, and this is what I like about, and I cannot wait when I'm gonna watch it, on FS1.
Does it air in Poland as well?
Yes, on
Okay.
Extreme Sports Channel.
That
So
is
make
great.
sure you're gonna watch it, guys.
Yes, for sure. Dana White said afterwards that you guys got into a brawl, but the cameras were off. The show was over.
Yeah.
That kind of ruins the brawl. No one gets to see it now.
But the most important fight is going to be July 8th. That's all.
That's-
gonna be better than that one.
How difficult was it to be around her every day?
It was nice, you know. Like, of course, last day I got enough, you know. Claudia, she just talked too much, and that's all, you know. It was enough, you know. But that's all. She didn't get into my head, but it was like I was the adult and she was the kid, you know. So I got enough. That's all, you know.
Yeah.
So I said few words to her. I did some things, and that's all, you know. The rest I'm gonna do in Vegas, July 8th.
Was this? Oh, is someone calling you now? Who's it? Claudia, maybe?
Oh yeah, Claudia.
Try-
She wants to ask me when we're gonna drink cup of cold tea, you know. But
Yeah, I
I'm too
bet.
busy.
Speaking of which, I saw Rose Namajunas even reach out to you and say, "Hey, you know, you're right next to where I live. This is someone that you could be fighting very soon. Reach out for tea." Were you surprised about that?
No, she's very nice. If I saw this message early, I could go to her and hang on with her. You know, like, you know, I have good relation with all of the fighters, more of them. You know, so there is nothing to like worry about. You know, even with Claudia, we could hang on together, but she doesn't like me. You know.
Why do you think she doesn't like you?
Because I'm the best, I'm the champ, and of course she's dreaming about, but she knows that she's never gonna be a champ.
When you guys were squaring off at the press conference, what were you saying to each other?
Oh, nothing. I was just happy to see her.
Yeah, I'm sure you were after all those months. So, by the way, was this like a full-on brawl? Like, did you guys actually punch each other?
In the show?
No, after when
the
the
show?
camera. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Wow.
No, just push, and she throws some kick, but she can't kick. Come on, guys. I'm gonna teach her how to kick.
That is amazing. By the way, I'm curious, now that you were, and by the way, congratulations, you were nominated as one of the best athletes in Poland recently at the end of the year, and you know you're going to be on this show, and you continue to win. Have things changed for you in Poland? Do you get recognized more? Are you getting more respect from the fans? Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised how many people recognize me in Albuquerque and in LA, for example. You know, it was amazing. Like Albuquerque is like 2 times bigger than my city. There's like 500,000 people. In my city, Austin, it's like 250,000 people. But I was really surprised, you know, like more people recognize me in Albuquerque than in my city, you know.
Wow.
Like, but, you know, I've got so many fans everywhere in Poland as well. I like my city so much. And what I can say about, like, I'm super busy with, I've got so many propositions, like movie propositions, lots of interviews, different, some commercials. I'm very happy about, you know, that people saw that MMA, it's a sport, you know.
So will you be appearing in movies?
Probably in some Polish productions.
Wow, that is a lot of fun. I like that. What about fighting in Poland?
Yeah, it is.
Have there been talks of that, of you fighting in Poland? I know they were there last year, but you actually fighting on the card?
I would like to fight in Poland, like maybe next year. I would like to fight July 8 in Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight July 8 in Vegas, and my next fight I would like to do in US or in Australia. It was amazing.
And you know, you just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of you winning the belt at UFC 185. It was fun to see you having cake and celebrating and whatnot. But you mentioned something very interesting in your post that, you know, not that long before you were signed to the UFC, you were actually thinking of retiring from fighting. Nothing was really going on. How close were you to actually retiring?
Like, I don't know, so close probably. You
Wow.
know, I was like, my parents teach me how to make money, how to be a good person, and how to work hard, and this is what I was doing all my life. And I was kind of like sad about that. I didn't have good sponsors, good money from the fights in Muay Thai or from MMA fights on the beginning of my career. So I was like, come on, I can do some business and make big money and just, do my things. And because I invest so much money in Muay Thai and MMA, and when my sister when we turned 18, me and my twin sister, she bought a car. I invest the money in trainings, So it was kind of sad, but I'm happy that I survived. That Dana, Lorenzo, Sean Shelby, Joe Silva, they find out me, and I'm here,
Wow, do you think about that a lot? Like how close you were to your life being completely different?
I did, but now I want to keep on winning, be a champ, and I want to help some young people in the future, For example, my sparring partner, he's just 19, but I promise you guys, he's gonna be a superstar in the future,
What's his name?
Jakub Wikłacz, his nickname is Masa. We call Masa when somebody is very big, but he's very tall and very skinny,
Oh, what weight does he fight at?
Now he's like, he used to fight 125 and 135, but now he put on weight.
Okay. And when you started to think about maybe retiring, did you start to think about doing something else? Like what would you have done in your life if you weren't a fighter? Do you have any idea?
No, I finished my studies. I finished studies, like two different, physical education and some physiotherapy for kids. So probably something with sport, but of course I always had all kind of different ideas, in my life.
And now I'm sure you don't think about retiring anymore. Like, did you even think like in 2-3 years I want to be done? You don't think like that, right?
Even 5 years, So I said like 2-3 years, but now I want to fight for 5 years, I hope that we're gonna have 125 division in the future, and I'm gonna become first female fighter who gonna hold 2 belts.
Would you prefer to stay at 125? Like if there was a 125 division, is that better for you?
Probably better, I must cut lots of weight. Isn't nice, but it's part of my job, and I can make it very easy. But of course, it could be more easy, more interesting to fight in 125.
What was it like? Is it surreal when you go to these gyms and you have people like BJ Penn and Holly Holm and Jon Jones and Dillashaw, like these great fighters, legends come up to you and are fans that you want to take a picture with you? What's that like for you? Someone from Poland who not that long ago people couldn't even pronounce your name.
It's very nice, I'm trying to be the same person all the time, but it's very nice, because I follow Jon Jones since I start with MMA. Holly Holm is like one of the best female fighters. She's very strong. Like TJ, I like his style so much. He's 135. He's light and he's moving so fast. And I met so many great people, and I'm just super happy about that we became friends.
Why? It's amazing. We announce you on the show, and there's some big names on the show, but I get such a great reaction every time you're on the show. People are like, I love Joanna. I love Joanna so much. Why do you think people love you so much? Why do you think you have that connection? I know you said you have haters, but there's this connection that you have developed. It reminds me to a degree, very different, but it's kind of like the Diaz brothers in a way. I think it's because you're so authentic, and I'm wondering if you think that's what it is, that you're so real, that you just say what you want. You don't pretend to be someone else. But there is definitely a connection that you have built with people. Why do you think? Where did that come from?
I don't know. Like you said, I'm the same. Like the Diaz brothers, they are always the same. I'm trying to be the same. Like people after the press conference, people start talk that every fighter is trying to act like Conor. Isn't true. I've been doing the same things before the fight with Carla. Like before I've got into the UFC. So when I must be mean, I'm mean. When I can be nice, I'm nice. It's my business. Fighting, it's my business. It's my job. So I cannot let my opponents get into my head. So I must show to them that I'm tough too, and they can't. beep, play with me.
When you see what happened to Ronda and then Holly, does it give you, like, are you reminded, okay, everyone's beatable, that I can't get too big of a head? Is that a lesson for you when you see that up close in person?
You know, you cannot be so dominant all the time. You know, I'm happy that my last fight was 5 rounds, you know, that I didn't knock Valerie out. It was difficult. She's very tough. Lots of respect to her. But I'm happy because I could see what's good for me, what can work in the future, what can't work. And it was good. And, you know, stay humble. And just keep on training hard. That's all. You know, when I walk through the octagon, I always want to win. I visualize the win, you know, winning. But in the back of my head, I know that it's a sport. You know, this is what happened to Holly Holm. You must be focused from the first second of the fight until the last second of the fight, you know, because everything can happen.
The last time I spoke to you, you said you wanted a bit of a break. This was in November, so do you feel like you're getting that itch back, like you're ready to go, you're excited for the camp, excited to fight?
I am. I cannot wait. I was lying, you know. If not broken hand, I could fight like March, April. And it's horrible, you know, but I did tough and I'm very happy, you know. I took my time, but I'm back to training, you know. I was back to training on the end of December, probably.
Okay. And have you ever felt this way about an opponent before because of your history with her, the first fight, tough, everything that's gone on? Does this one feel different for you?
What do you mean?
Just because you have a history. She's not just an opponent. Like Valerie was just someone that, you know, you have a history. You've been around this person for a long time, Claudia. Does the fight feel more personal because of that?
Not really. Nothing. My belt is the most important for me, you know. I will try to be as much cold as I can be, you know. Like in this fight, I'm gonna be very cold, you know. I'm gonna be a real fighter. That's all. But after the fight, of course, I hope everything gonna be clear, fair play, respect, and that's all, you know.
Any gifts?
We're gonna make it clear.
Yes. Any gifts for the weigh-in?
IV?
No, for the weigh-in.
Steroids? Oh, no. You said a book? Oh, no, I don't know. Don't have idea yet. There's few ideas.
Oh, my gosh. I wasn't...
You said a book, IV, or some, you know, steroids. I don't know.
Well, you believe she does that?
I don't know. It's her problem, you know. I know that so many fighters got smaller, you know, after the USADA came into the UFC.
Wow.
She called me fat. But I'm happy, you know. When I put on weight, I'm happy, you know. And my fiance is happy too, you know. Bigger few letters, you know. But the thing is like, you know, like you know, people they use steroids and they feel like heroes, you know, like that they are the strongest people, but it isn't true, you know.
So do you think you'll see a different Claudia than the one you fought a year and a half ago?
Sure, she's smaller than she was a year ago, you know, so you could see that in the fight with the Jessica Aguilar. Wow.
All right. We will leave it at that. Joanna, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know you're very busy.
Thank you guys for having me.
You have a lot going on.
I go to sleep, but thank you guys so much for having me.
It means a lot, so thank you so much. Like I said, you're very busy. You have a lot going on, but anytime we have you on, the fans love it, and I love it as well. So I appreciate your time. Again, happy Easter, and I look forward to it. Your fight on my birthday. It's going to be a great night, July 8th in Las Vegas. I can't wait.
This is what I want to say. Like, I'm going to keep on training really hard. Everything can happen, but I will try to win this fight. And I know I'm going to win this fight. And you're going to hear it. And still, I love all of you guys, even you, Claudia. And I'm honest.
Thank you so much. There she is, the UFC strawweight champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Always a pleasure to talk to her on this program. One of a kind. Great stuff from her. Looking forward to that fight on July 8th, my birthday in Las Vegas. Okay, let us move along. We have saved the best for last, my friends. We are being joined now. It has been a while that we have been being joined by the best in the world. The #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world is joining us right now. Yes, he does not have the title. Yes, he is not the champion. At least as of now, he might dispute that fact. but there is no doubt that on April 23rd, UFC 197, Jon Jones will return finally to the cage. He'll be meeting his longtime friend, Daniel Cormier. Can't wait for that. We're less than a month away, but right now he is joining us on the phone. What a pleasure, what an honor this is, what a privilege to be joined by the one and only Johnny Bones Jones. John, how are you?
Good, man. What an introduction.
Oh, this is
Thank
great.
you.
This is great. This is a treat. It's always great to talk to you. Wow, it was great to see you once again at that press conference, John. It was nice to see that smile. It was nice to see you back in your element. But who would have expected that kind of reaction from the fans? Did you expect it? I mean, that was the story. We're still talking about that press conference and the dynamic and how they cheered you and the reaction to DC. Honestly, did you think it would go down like that?
No, I didn't. Honestly, I had no clue what to expect. But I definitely am really grateful for all the support. You know, it's been a long time since I've been around, and you know, I definitely felt missed, and it made me feel really good.
Did that whole experience kind of give you a bit of a shot in the arm? You were sort of a month and a half away from the fight, but it feels like you've been training for the last 6 months. To be back in Vegas in front of fans, people talking to you, familiar faces, did that kind of take the training camp, you know, like if this was a car, to the next gear?
What was the last part?
You know, just
for the next year.
Yeah, like did it sort of up things for you? Did it give you a little more motivation? Just, you know, sometimes training camp, I'm assuming, can be a little mundane. Did this kind of up things a little bit, just being there?
Yeah, definitely. It was. It had lots of value. You know, definitely encouraging to be around the fans and to see the level of support, to have their support. You know, and also to just be around DC and to see how much of a head case the guy still is. You know, it definitely seemed like all the boos and the fans' opinions really messed with him psychologically, and I hadn't seen Daniel in so long, just to see how emotional he can get so fast. It was interesting to see.
Why do you think they reacted to him that way?
You know, it could be many different things. I think in some ways, you know, I think people are rooting for me. I think people want to see me do the right things, and I think they want to see a comeback story. They want to see, you know, right now I'm trying to represent a message of you know, coming back from things and never giving up on your dreams, and I think I represent hope in a way. You know, I'm a guy who was really doing a lot of great things, and then I ruined a lot. I crashed and I burned, and I could have took my life and allowed it to keep spiraling down. But instead, you know, I'm fighting to not only get back the things that I've lost, I'm fighting to live my life better than I did before, doing it sober and taking things more seriously. And my idea for myself is to ultimately be someone that could be looked up to by kids and motivate other people and inspire other people to clean up their lives and to change their lives around. That's what I'm trying to represent. And I think somewhere I became a representative of hope for some people. And I think DC is kind of representing that one person who's telling you you can never be sober. You can never be this or that. You know, you can never get your life back and be on track. I think he's just the antagonist. And, you know, a lot of people have failed themselves and let themselves down. And they draw strength seeing somebody else do the right things and turn their life around. DC's that one teacher in school is telling you can't do it, you can't be sober, you won't be a good person, your life is over, you don't get second chances. And I just think DC's trying to make himself come across as a better person to me, playing the high and mighty role, and I just don't think it's going over well with the fans. I think he's in the way of a comeback story, and a comeback story maybe people want to see.
After our discussion in November, one of the big takeaways was, I think, that, wow, this is a new Jon. He's finally being honest with the people. He's telling it like it is. And people were curious to see how the next few months would go until the fight. And then there was a bit of a speed bump, pardon the pun, where you got some tickets and people were freaking. People thought the fight was going to get canceled, that, you would have to, face some charges, your probation, all that stuff. And you went on Instagram and we're just talking about tickets here. Was that a reminder that, this thing, again, you're still not out of the, you're not out of the dark here. A little, slip up here or there can derail all of this. I know what you said in the Instagram video, but how did you react to all of that?
Well, in a way, I felt like the media and the world showed me its hand. I had been doing a lot of the right things. I had my main thing that I'm most proud of is just, I'm not the party animal I used to be. And I've lost a lot of friends because of that. My wife's a lot happier, and my coaches and business partners are a lot happier. I'm a lot happier. I'm living healthy for the first time in my life. And so I was really proud of myself and the way that things were going. And then I'm late to practice, and I'm on a back road that's really close to my house that I drive every day, and nobody really is ever on that road. I was definitely going over the speed limit to get to practice on time, and I get pulled over. And I didn't have my proper paperwork. Paperwork that I always had was at home in my office instead of in my car where it should have been. And I get these tickets, and the world blew up. I mean, it literally was covered by, the top media outlets in the world. And it just was a quick reminder to me that, yeah, John, you've come a long way. You've done a lot of things right. You're doing really good. But, there's still a lot of people out there who want to see you crash and burn and never recover. So it just let me know, John, you can't afford to do anything. You really have to live as close to perfect as possible. And so, I really made a promise to myself that, nothing would be acceptable. Don't speed, John, not even 5 miles over. Do everything as close to perfect as possible because I just can't afford to do anything. I really don't get second chances at this point.
Was the fight in jeopardy at all when that happened?
No, the fight was never in jeopardy. No, the fight was never in jeopardy. No, no, it wasn't. It just wasn't.
Okay. And go ahead.
I was saying I actually just came across some more tickets since this little since this incident I had recently. I actually just got pulled over the other night for drag racing, supposedly. So this is probably going to hit the media really soon. I guess I'll talk about it right now, but before it comes out anywhere else, you can hear it switch for me. So definitely as fans, get ready to see this whirlwind play out.
Wow. When did this happen?
About I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. This is crazy. So I ended up getting a deferred sentence for the not having my proper paperwork, and so I went to court, and judge told me, John, no citations for 90 days, and this will go away off your record. And so me knowing that, obviously, I'm driving and following the laws, doing what I can to stay out of trouble, and I'm driving up a street called Central here in Albuquerque. I was coming back from a dinner with a lot of my teammates, and I pull up to a red light, and I had these fans. They rolled down the window, and they're trying to get me to roll down my window. And I guess I wasn't really in the mood to talk, so I revved my engine at them, and they start clapping, and they're smiling, and they're so happy. And the light turns green, and I start driving away, and I literally get pulled over 10 yards after driving. get pulled over in a 35-mile-per-hour zone, and the officer pulls me over and tells me that I was drag racing. And I was obviously really upset. And I asked him how was it possible to be drag racing in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. And he said, well, I never said you were speeding, but I'm going to ticket you for drag racing. And knowing that I just got a deferred sentence, knowing that it's the last thing I need to be associated with a drag race, knowing that I wasn't drag racing, I freaked out. I totally freaked out. And so, yeah, this guy ended up giving me, I freaked out pretty much and argued with this officer. And it got pretty heated, and this guy ended up giving me 5 tickets.
What?
He gave me 5 tickets, and
5?
Yeah, it was bullshit, quite frankly.
5 tickets for what?
5 tickets. He gave me a ticket for exhibition of driving. He said that me revving my engine was illegal, and so he gave me exhibition of driving. He gave me drag racing, which is impossible because I was in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. He acknowledged that I wasn't speeding, but he wanted to give me a ticket for drag racing. So, which is, I don't understand how you can drag race for 10 yards under 35 miles per hour and get ticketed for that. So I got a ticket for drag racing. He gave me a ticket for altering my exhaust, which I didn't alter my exhaust. It's completely stock, but he just wanted to throw that on there too. He gave me a ticket because for swerving lanes. He said I broke the dotted line 3 times, which is also simply not true. And then he gave me another ticket he said he couldn't see the registration number at the bottom of my license plate because it was covered up by that, I guess that frame that goes around people's license plates to show where you brought the car from. So it was just excessive. You know, the guy really just picked me. I think it was a DWI cop. He wanted to find a drunk driver, and once he realized I was sober, he needed something to justify pulling me over. So he kind of fabricated this whole thing that I was drag racing, and I'm going to fight it. It's definitely the last thing I need to be going through right before this fight. I'm going to fight it the best I can because, I simply wasn't drag racing. So got really emotional and said a whole bunch of things I probably should have never said to a police officer. But, getting accused of something, and it really pissed me off. And I definitely regret some of the things I said to the guy, but it'll be coming out here shortly. I'm sure somebody's going to pull a tape of it or something. So, whatever.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I am thoroughly impressed that you would be the one breaking this. I don't recall an athlete, who was in a situation like that, breaking the news and getting ahead of it. So, I appreciate you doing it here, and kudos to you on that. And perhaps it's from a lesson learned.
Well, right now, Ariel, my whole life is so public.
Yeah.
Everything I do is so public right now. I'm really walking on eggshells. So I figured, I'll talk about it right now. That way I'm being progressive and not being defensive and trying to, fix a story that I'm sure is going to be, last thing, a Jon Jones drag racing headline is terrible, absolutely terrible. So I talk about it now to get ahead of it, let everybody know what's going on before it actually comes out.
What's going through your mind when you're sitting in your car and this is all unfolding, and like you just said, your life is public, you've had the mistakes, the fight is coming up. Are you panicking? Are you nervous? Is that why you said you're apologetic for some of the things that you said? Are you did you have a panic? What's going through your mind? How are you reacting to all of this?
Well, in the car, I started to panic right away, because here I am. I just got this deferred sentence of, do the right thing for 90 days and your tickets will go away. And so, I had made a vow to myself, not only that I'm going to do the right things because of this deferred sentence, but I'm also trying to get my life together and get my life back on track. And so to get pulled over for trying to acknowledge some fans by, giving them a rev of the engine, was ultimately put a huge smile on these people's face. And then to get pulled over 3 seconds later, being accused of drag racing, I felt like I was looking into the face of an absolute liar, and I was looking for Ashton Kutcher. I was like, this cannot be. You're joking me, right? You're joking, right? And the guy's like, yeah, I can't give you a speeding ticket, but I'm going to give you one for drag racing. I'm like, how is this possible? How do I drag race under 35 miles per hour? I don't get it. And the guy was just really confrontational with me, and so yeah, I freaked out, man. I lost it. I completely lost it. I said a whole bunch of terrible things to the guy. I called him out with his name and stuff like that. Things I really regret, but I don't know. I lost my cool, but hopefully we can get past this, and at the end of the day, I'm just really focused on this fight, and I want to let my lawyers really take care of this situation. I'm going to fight it to the very end too, because when you're innocent of something, it's not very easy to lay down and take shit when you've done nothing wrong. So I'll let my lawyers handle it, and I'm just going to focus on what I can control, which is the fight, the training, staying focused, staying positive.
So do you feel like they're actually, I mean, you think that you were wronged here. Do you feel, and I'm sure you're a pretty recognizable guy in Albuquerque with probably a pretty recognizable car. Do you feel like they're now looking for you because you've had these run-ins? Do you feel like you're,
No, I don't. Albuquerque Police Department, they've been really fair to me. I definitely haven't been the easiest, the greatest citizen, but I'm recognized that, and I've made a lot of huge changes to try to change that and try to do the right things. So yeah, I'm definitely not calling out like state PD for like noticing me and choosing to harass me. I actually have a lot of friends in the department and things like that, so I doubt that's the case. I just think this officer in particular was looking for like a DWI or something, and thought he'd try to stick me with one of those. And once he realized I was sober, I just think he I don't know, man. I don't know if he was in a bad mood or what, but he's definitely a very confrontational guy to talk with and deal with. He never allowed me a chance to talk, or he was just rude and sarcastic the whole time. And things just escalated really fast. So I don't know.
Do you think he knew who you were?
Bad apple. Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But I think the moment I rolled down my window to talk to the guy, I just think he knew he wasn't going to be giving me I don't know. I just feel like the guy was confrontational from the very first second of the conversation. So.
Now, of course.
Even then,
Yeah.
Even then, you're supposed to swallow your pride, kind of lay on the sword, and yes sir, no sir. I had a really hard time doing that. This guy's just accusing me. I'm like, bro, I'm the last guy you can give a ticket to for a drag race, and like you don't understand. Like, please don't do this to me. I said to the guy, and he was adamant that he wanted to do what he wanted to do. So, gave me 5 tickets, man, and it's little shit, but that's why we're not gonna just sit back. We're gonna really fight the thing, no matter how long it takes.
By the way, do you have you ever drag raced? Like, is this a thing that you've done in the past that you even?
No.
Okay.
No, I've never drag raced ever. Ever.
Now, of course, people wondering the fight less than a month away. How does this affect the fight? Is there a chance now that the fight won't happen?
No. I don't think that's the case. It's very public that I'm on probation, so I talked to my probation officer about it right away.
Okay.
And so, I don't think anything's going to be happening there. And like I said, if I was guilty of it, then maybe I could possibly be in some type of trouble. But it doesn't affect the fight at all, especially because I know I'm not guilty and we're going to fight it. And I just don't think it's going to affect the fight. Okay.
Last question on all of this. Is there anything that you have to do now? As far as this is, like, do you have an appearance coming up, a court appearance? Like, is this going to be a distraction between now and then? Sometimes I know you get the court appearance, right away. Do you have to deal with this before the fight, or is it going to be after the fight?
I'm not sure. I think I got to go in for some type of hearing. My plan was to send my lawyers to it.
Okay.
Then the actual court date will be like after the fight. So, fortunately, I get to just stay focused on the fight. It is a little bit of a distraction, but like I said, when you know you're innocent of something, you don't need to really worry or stress yourself out about it. So I'm just staying extremely confident and positive about the whole thing, and it makes me feel like I'm getting ready to win that belt back. You know, like if everything was going smooth and easy sailing, you know, it's like it'd be a little more scary. But having little things, you know, little bumps and little things, it's that little bit of last-minute adversity before the battle, just to check your strength, you know, and it's like a mental test for me, you know. So I'm just staying positive and fighting through this little bit of adversity, and you know, I'm sprinting towards the finish line.
By the way, I heard from a lot of people last week about MMA about to be legalized in New York. Weidman, Ratner, everyone talked about it. Endicott's own Jon Jones. I saw a couple tweets, but what was your reaction? Is this now, you know, like can we throw your name into that MSG hat? Is this something that is exciting you right now? What's your reaction to this?
Yes, it's very exciting. Very exciting. I've always dreamt of fighting at Madison Square Garden. I'm really excited to do that. It's going to be a huge honor to fight in the same arena as Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, so many other great combatants over the years. But what most excites me is the opportunity to fight in Rochester, New York. You know, I've never done anything in Rochester, and that's where I was actually born. There's a lot of kids in that city who could use my support and could use my presence being there to talk to the schools and visit the Boys and Girls Clubs. And I've always had a certain amount of guilt not giving back enough or giving back anything to where I'm from. So I really want to do that, you know, tap into that, and not only start to do more for that city, but to fight there also. Right now, that's a bigger achievement for me than fighting at the Garden.
Oh, wow.
Fighting at an arena in Rochester. Yeah, giving back in that way.
Wow. Is there a dream fight
Sure.
there that you like this would be the perfect scenario in Rochester, this guy, these stakes? Do you think about that?
No one in particular, no.
Okay.
It's just doing it there for them.
What about getting the belt back and fighting DC and putting this behind you? Have you ever?
Oh boy. Well, that's my everything, man. I don't know what to say about that. That's everything to me. I mean, I think about it all day, every day. I watch him fight Gustafsson and myself, Anthony Johnson, almost every day, and
Wow.
I have these different thoughts and new ideas coming to mind. You know, what I did wrong last time. You know, if I was DC, what would I do to beat me? You know, and I think about that all the time, and I think I have a pretty good grasp, an idea of what he needs to do differently, and it helps me make proper alterations. I'm just really confident. I'm really confident. I'm definitely more healthy than I've ever been. My cardio and my physical strength and my tactics, you know, just really in tune. And I'm just so excited, man. Really excited. I'm getting all excited just talking about it right now.
Wow. Did he? Did things change? I know that guy, Chai Lewis Perry, his training partner. He was on this show talking. There were some words exchanged between him and your brother and you.
Yeah.
Could it be more personal?
Weird.
What?
That was so weird, that situation. So let me I'll touch on that real quick.
Sure.
So me at DC, you seen the little sit down meet Joe Rogan at DC?
Yeah.
And so we were in there, we were talking. Things got heated, but we were calm, cool, collected, both of us. And right when the thing's done, I go outside, and me and my publicist, my manager, we're all talking about how it went. And DC comes out with Bob Cook, his boxing coach, and that giant, whatever his name is, and DC. So it's four of them, four fighters, versus me and my business partners who aren't fighters. And right away, DC goes like, oh, you're gonna see, like you're gonna get it. And the first thing I said to him was, DC, man, let's keep this shit professional, man. We got in a fight last time in public, like, let's chill out, bro. We were just face to face. You could have said whatever you had to say there. And And DC starts chirping at me. I'm not sure exactly what was said. And I started chirping at him back. And then I noticed that the giant, Ty Perry or whatever, he was making little remarks and snickering, and then his boxing coach was making remarks and snickering. So I say something like, dude, you're talking all this crap. We got security guards, and you got all your teammates. You got your cheerleading squad here. And so once I said that, the boxing coach right away starts yelling at me, and Ty starts yelling at me. I remember calling him tiny, and I was like, dude, shut up, dude. You guys just get in your car. Get in your car, right? And for me, I look at myself. Self is a bad mofo at the end of the day, and even outnumbered, I have to show that there's no weakness in my heart. And so, even though it's Bob and boxing coach and Ty and DC, I stood there, willing to get jumped if that's what it came down to, and I faced all four of them, letting them know that I will fight all four of you right here in this parking lot. And that's what happened. They ended up getting in their car and driving away. And I guess, the Ty Perry guy ended up doing all these interviews saying that I was the worst person ever. But really, the conversation was between me and DC. And he decided to be a cheerleader and make remarks and snicker over everything DC said, being his little puppet. And so I had to face off four of them. So I said some things to all of them, and I guess they didn't like that. But at the end of the day, I was minding my business, and I was outnumbered. And they ended up walking away with their tails between their legs and with their feelings hurt, all four of them. Well, not Bob Cook. I said nothing to Bob because I would never disrespect somebody's coach. And Bob never said anything to me either. He was smart enough to mind his business. But whatever.
Okay, let's end on this, Jon. And I appreciate the time, and really appreciate what you were talking about earlier and coming out and saying it first. Thank you very much for that. I follow you on social media, and you're in amazing shape. And you were back in November when I saw you. I don't remember you being in this good shape this early before the fight, a month out. You're always in great shape, fight night. But it's an amazing progression that we've seen, especially from the past. Do you think now, can you confidently say you're going to be better on April 23rd than you've ever been? Do you expect that out of yourself all this time, everything you've dealt with? Is that a real possibility? I don't know how it could be possible because, as I said at the top, I consider you the greatest of all time, and I would say that to anyone. But is that a real thing now?
I think I will be better. I think I will be better. Right now, I'm competing at a really high level here in practice. Confidence is a lot higher than ever before because I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know that I'm taking it extremely seriously. As far as being in shape, I'm able to do things that I just couldn't do before. I noticed when I run mountains and I run sprints up the hill, I got legs under me now that push me up the hill. Before I would work so hard, having no leg muscles. I couldn't push as hard as I wanted to. So now I have a stronger vehicle, to push harder. So I feel like I'm in the best shape I've ever been. Definitely more confident in my jiu-jitsu. Sometimes I have these dreams of tapping out DC. We know that he's going to be shooting in. We know he loves his head outside single. And so we've been working for months on different chokes and jiu-jitsu. And I really, if I don't submit him somehow, then I believe I'll win by decision. I just think there's no way he's going to be out pushing me and outpacing me. No way. So I feel good. I feel good about this fight. I really feel like I'm going to win this fight and just got to keep fighting. That's it. Keep fighting, keep moving forward, stay positive.
And isn't it funny after all this time since we spoke, Ronda loses, Conor loses, Sage, all these sort of golden boys lose that people perceive to be the UFC's golden boy, and it all coincides with the return of the king. You had to have thought of that, right?
It's timing, man. A lot of things are timing. But at the end of the day, I I try not to compete with anybody else, man. There's room for all of us to be great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think once you start competing with other stars and finding jealousy in your heart, you know, that's Rashad Evans used to say something. Rashad Evans said to me once, he said, John, I don't wish bad upon you. You know, your star declining doesn't make my star climb any higher. And I always remember that saying, he said. And I've really taken that in. You know, somebody else losing really doesn't make my stock go up. You know, it's like we all are stars in our own right, in our own way. And I try to never, ever have that mindset of competing. So, you know, ironically, yeah, you know, a lot of the Golden Boys have lost, and now I'm returning. So I see how that can give me that sort of momentum in the eyes of, as far as being a star and endorsements and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not competing with any of these guys. I know what I've done in this sport. And I've beat a lot of amazing fighters, and I don't question myself because I've been out for a while. Pretty confident in who I am.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to do you one favor. Can I get you a driver for the next month? Can we just not drive anymore?
Oh, Ariel got jokes.
Can we just do that? And
Ariel got jokes. Yeah, you know, that's funny. You know, my buddy Lou Trishan, he usually drives me in between every practice. I'm so glad to have him here. I train and I eat, and I train and I eat. I train and I eat, and then I'll see my kids at the very end of the day. And sometimes, you know, I'm so like out of it while I'm driving because I'm just drained, like emotionally and mentally, just drained and consumed by this fight. And so there's been times where I'll literally sit in my car for up to like 45 minutes after a practice because I really don't have it mentally to drive my car, being so exhausted. And so having him here with me is another thing that's really allowed me to train even better because I know I can give it my all at each practice and have him there holding the water for me, you know, having a protein shake already ready for me right after my workout. You know, he has the keys to the car. You know, he's driving me to my next workout. He's picking me up for my workouts. And it's just he's been such a valuable piece. So, Lou, shout out to Lou for helping me out. And I do have a driver to answer that question.
Good. All right.
Driver.
That is great.
His buddy.
That is great news. Yeah. Let's rely on him a little more. But in all honesty, I hope that it all works out, that this is, you know, just a little issue, and then we can move along and finally get to see the fight that everyone wants to see. Again, John, best of luck to you, and really appreciate you coming on and talking about this first on this program. That means a lot. I appreciate your trust, and I wish you luck with that. But and obviously, most importantly, the training camp and the fight, April 23rd. I look forward to being there and covering it in person. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, man. Stay being great, Ariel.
All right. I appreciate that as well. Thank you very much to Jon Jones for stopping by. Wow. Really interesting stuff. Really interesting stuff there from Jon Jones. Wow. I did not, I didn't think we'd go in that direction. I can't recall an athlete of his caliber coming out before something hits the quote-unquote newswire and actually telling the world that this happened, especially given his history. I mean, if nothing else, who knows what happened? I'm sure a video will emerge, an audio file will emerge. I'm sure they'll have to answer it, and it will be, it will be coming up. There's no doubt about that. But to break it first, when's that ever happen? Wow. Didn't expect that. Obviously, you hope that nothing, illegal was done. You hope that he's not being targeted. And, selfishly as a fan, you hope that the fight is not affected because it's a fight that, as I said, everyone wants to see. Everyone's excited about one of the best rivalries in UFC history. And we're oh so close. We're less than a month away. So you hope that that's not going to be an issue. And you hope that he can, stay out of trouble regardless of whether, you just don't want to get in those situations because you never know what can happen, especially when you're on probation. So, again, I appreciate John coming out and saying it. I think that in its own right says something about the difference in who he is today as opposed to even 6 months ago. You hope it all works out for him and that nothing affects his life, his family, and obviously the fight itself. Again, thank you very much to John. What a treat that was. Great to have him on the program. Okay, speaking of John, let's go Y'all Must Have Forgot here for a second. I spoke to him 5 years ago. Everything's okay with the stream, right, New York Rick? Something happened there for a second, but I think that we're all good. We're all good, right, New York Rick? Everyone good? Anyone? Okay. I thought maybe you guys were sleeping back there or something. Okay. That does it for today's interviews. Woo! What a ride that was. Marc Ratner, Demetrious Johnson, Renzo Gracie, CM Punk, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Johnny Bones. Woo! I'm beat. But there's plenty of show left. There's a lot more to discuss. I know you guys want to hear what happened last week. You know, it's interesting. When I book the show, I often think to myself, okay, who are the newsmakers of the week? And how do I get either the newsmaker, him or herself, or someone related to them? Because I need a solid show that represents the news of the past week. And this time I was like, oh, I got myself. This is great. This is perfect. So I'll divulge a little bit. We'll talk about it. We'll air it out. And then we'll move on to happier and better and more exciting topics. But before we do that, let's go, y'all must have forgot. Let's go back to my interview with Jon Jones, UFC 128, March of 2011, right before his title fight against Shogun, right before he became champion in Newark, New Jersey. That was 5 years ago this month. A young Jon Jones, a fresh-faced Jon Jones, a Jon Jones who was talking about tweeting every 2 seconds and retweeting, a different kind of Jon Jones, but the same guy, just a younger, maybe less mature version of him, one who had not been, hadn't even stopped that perpetrator right before the fight. Remember that, the morning of the fight? I thought it would be fun to look back at that on the heels of that interview with Jon live here on the show. So here it is. Y'all must have forgot. Me and Jon Jones, March of 2011. And then after the interview, we'll talk about my fun week. How about that? It's a date. You're watching the MMA Hour. We'll be back in a second. Y'all must have forgot. Here it is. Ariel Helwani in Newark, New Jersey, getting set for UFC 128 alongside Jon Bones Jones, who faces Mauricio Shogun Rua this Saturday night live on pay-per-view for the UFC light heavyweight title. And Jon, the moment is here. You've been talking about this for a long time. I just want to ask you first, do you need to tweet? Because you've been averaging like one tweet every 5 minutes. So if you want to get that out of the way before the interview starts.
I'll probably tweet this. I'll retweet this interview when it comes out. How's that?
Good deal. Yesterday, I thought at the press conference you looked very calm, relaxed. You were really enjoying the moment. What have you told yourself about this? You know, this is a big deal for you, but it doesn't seem like you're reserved, you're nervous, anything like that. You just seem to be having fun out there.
Yeah, I'm just going with it. You know, I'm realizing more and more that no matter what I do before the fight, they're going to lock us in there. We're going to have to fight each other. So I might as well enjoy the ride. You know, I would hate to look back on life and say, oh, man, you know, I remember I would just stay in my room and I would just freak out the whole time and I ended up winning the fight anyways type of thing, you know. So I'm just realizing that they're going to lock us in there. So I might as well make the best of it, you know, use all the media to my advantage, you know. I'll get my Twitter followers up and things like that and just enjoy it, you know. I'm fighting in New York as well, and I think it's important for me to do my part. You know, this fight is very small compared to the scale of work that needs to be done to legalize it in the sport and in New York. So I'm just trying to do my part as much as possible and then put a cherry on top of all of it with a great performance.
On the flip side of that, we talked to Shogun about the press conference and some other stuff, and he called your demeanor and your behavior ridiculous, and he was very upset, and he thought that you were a little too confident, a little too cocky, playing to the crowd. He didn't like all of that stuff. What do you make of that?
I have no clue what he's talking about. I don't think I did anything that was disrespectful. I don't think I said anything that was disrespectful. And I mean, I find some of the things that he says about me actually disrespectful. Between his brother making comments about how I have no punching power, how his manager says that he was going to kick my ASS. What else? What else?
Did you see the countdown show?
How I have chicken legs and how he's going to kick them repeatedly. So, you know, it's okay with me. If I'm in his head, that's even better.
Did you see the countdown show?
Yeah, I did see it.
They seem very fired up. His manager, Eduardo Alonso, they seem very fired up. Like they're not getting any respect here. Do you see where they're coming from?
Yeah, absolutely, and I love it. I feel as if I've maybe gotten in their head a little bit, and maybe they feel as if their back's against the wall, and that's great. Hopefully that brings out a really vicious Shogun, and I'm definitely going to be as vicious as possible. So it calls for a great fight.
A lot of people were surprised when they found out that you've been signing your name as Champ 2011. How did that come about?
You know, I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that that you can speak things into existence. And I believe that when you know where you're going and you know what you want, the universe has a way of stepping aside for you. And me signing my signature with Champion 2011 on it, it can't hurt me. It can't hurt me. It could only help me to believe it even more, you know. So yeah, I mean, it works for me.
You've been saying something that I find to be very interesting, that the butterflies in your stomach are in formation.
Right.
I've never heard that before. I think it makes a lot of sense. What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
What I mean by it? Okay, so the butterflies in formation, basically it means when you have butterflies and you're feeling anxious and you have anxiety or nervous, that's when you're most powerful, I believe. And either you can, you're most powerful. So a lot of people, instead of homing this power, and using it, they allow it to just consume them. You know, there's another quote that says, a big challenge or big pressure is like a fire. It's like a raging fire. Either you can allow this fire to consume you and just take you over completely, or you can gain control of this fire and harness it, and you blow it right at your opponent like it's Dragon Ball Z style. All right, so that's what I'm trying to do. I try to get my emotions under control and use this adrenaline to my advantage.
What do you think is Shogun's biggest weakness?
Shogun's biggest weakness is definitely his wrestling, and I think his jiu-jitsu is also very overrated.
He thinks your jiu-jitsu is your biggest weakness.
I think that's great that he thinks that.
We'll find out.
We shall.
Is 50 Cent walking you out to the cage on Saturday?
Unfortunately, he's not. We offered him tickets to the fight, but he's a very busy guy, and it was an honor meeting 50 Cent. I think us fighters, you know, getting to have, you know, bigger celebrity friends like that can only help our sport. You know, he gave me a tweet, and I think he has about 4 million followers, which is more than Dana White and the UFC put together, and that educated a lot of people to like want to see this fight. So it could only help our sport. You know, me and 50 Cent meeting each other. You know, we're both from New York, and I think it's important for people to come together and use their power together and promote each other and things like that. So there's nothing negative that can come to me by meeting such a huge marketing tool like 50 Cent and a huge icon like 50 Cent.
If not 50, maybe Rosario Dawson?
I got in trouble last time I talked about her in an interview, so we're not going to go there.
Final question. A lot of people like to compare, you know, the stars of today to the stars of yesterday, and a lot of people are comparing you to Mike Tyson. At, you know, just 20-something years old, he won the heavyweight title and just started this whole new era of heavyweight boxing. Do you see any similarities, and have you studied what he went through and then what happened to him when he won the title and his decline, all that stuff?
No, I don't see any similarities between me and Mike Tyson. You know, Mike Tyson had a different mindset. He was raised differently. You know, he was a little more worldly, and you know, I come with a different message. You know, I think he got sidetracked to things. Even though he's a great guy, he's an icon. He transcended boxing at the time, but you know, I try not to listen to things like that. I just try to focus on being the best Jon Jones that I can be, and you know, keeping my message more on the positive side. And I think the only similarity is that we both achieved a lot of success at a young age, but to be compared to Mike Tyson is not what I'm looking for.
Not one Rashad Evans question. Are you impressed?
Thank you.
It goes down this Saturday night live on pay-per-view. Jon Bones Jones goes up against Mauricio Shogun Rua for the UFC light heavyweight title. Best of luck to you, Jon.
Thank you, sir.
That's fun to look back at that. You know, you hear what he says, and same kind of guy. You know, he's still a little bit, I don't know, camera shy, if you want to call it that. Obviously, he's been through a lot in the last 5 years, but that's the fun part of that segment, especially when you can talk to the guy in 2016 and then go back to just days before he became the light heavyweight king. He attempts to get that title back in less than a month, and we hope that nothing stands in his way. We hope that we can see the fight. And I sincerely hope, I know I was kind of joking there at the end, but it would be good, and he's been asked this before, you know, maybe for the next month, just get a driver. You know, maybe if you think that you're being targeted, just get a driver. You know, maybe that's for the best. Get a sweet-ass Rolls Royce, get a Bentley, get something, or get a Kia. I don't know. Get maybe it's a little weird to have a driver if you've got, you know, a fancy sports car, but one of those old school classic cars where you can just chill, you know, like Connor was doing, have some breakfast in the back, do your thing. You don't have to worry. You can text and drive because you're not driving. Maybe that's the way to go. Anyhow, we appreciate Jon and everyone stopping by today. This was a very important show, and a show that I wanted to have this big lineup because, a funny thing happened last week when all this came out about, me parting ways with Fox. And I will reiterate what I said earlier in the show. I've never felt like this show should be about me or, a place for me to stand on a soapbox and lecture people or tell you about my personal life. I mean, very rarely do I even tell you about my interests or my family, things like that. These days, maybe a little bit, talk about, the Knicks or my Syracuse Orange that are in the final freaking four, things like that. But I usually stick to the script because I understand that this show is the MMA Hour and that you follow me for MMA news and MMA content and MMA interviews, and I don't want to take that for granted. I am not naive, though. I know people like juicy stories, and I know people, want to know what happened, and you come to me to ask questions and to find out answers. So if something is affecting me, then you want to know the answers to those questions. I get that. But I will reiterate what I said earlier, and that was you never aspire to be in the news. You want to report on the news. That's why I did this. Trust me, I did not become an MMA journalist back in 2006, 2007 because I heard that MMA journalists were making a boatload of cash. That's certainly not why I did this. And it wasn't because I wanted to be famous or anything. I love the sport, love covering the sport, love reporting on the sport, and most importantly, love talking to the fighters. I love everything about being an MMA journalist. And that's a title that means a whole lot to me, and it's very important to me. And I know in the past, people have accused me of not being that or not being true to that. It's funny. I hear from people in other organizations who call me a shill, and others in or organizations who say that I'm too tough. And it's like you can never please everyone, and maybe that's a sign that you're doing things right when everyone thinks that you're not being fair to them. Maybe that's a sign. I don't know. That's what someone told me. But when I went to Syracuse, when I left Montreal in 2001 to go pursue a degree in broadcast journalism and left everything behind, and that's not something that is done in Montreal, that's because I sincerely loved journalism. I loved the idea of having a career in this. And there were, that was a weird time for me. I've talked about it before, but there were definitely some lessons that I learned back then. I've said this, I don't know if it's been on this show, but in other interviews. In 2001, I told my parents that in 10 years, I believe that this sport is going to be mainstream. I told them that when that time comes, there are going to be executives who are going to be sitting in an office somewhere and saying, all right, I guess we have to start covering MMA. I guess we're going to have to start covering the UFC. Who's the guy? And my goal in 2001 was to be that guy in 10 years, to almost force their hand. I had a feeling. This is before Tough. I had an MMA radio show in college. I followed. I bought all the pay-per-views. I just had a feeling. Luckily for me, August of 2011, the UFC signs a deal with Fox. Out of Spike TV, sign a deal with Fox, and wow, there's a lot more on the menu. There's a lot more content to be produced. There's pre-fight shows and post-fight shows and all this stuff. And this is potentially exciting because it's 10 years later, but it's also the big leagues. It's Fox. It's all that good stuff. That day, I credit Dana White with this. A few days before the announcement, he gave me the heads up. He gave me the heads up that something big was going down in LA on that Thursday. I believe it was August 12th of 2011. And so I went to LA. I mean, I wasn't just in the neighborhood. I was there, but I had a premonition. I had a tip. So I went to LA to cover that. I wanted to be there. That was a no-brainer. That day, I met with some Fox executives about the potential of working. And again, I have to give props. I don't even know if I get that sit down if not for Dana White. I'm being honest. I don't even know if that happens. I truly owe him a lot. I've said it in many interviews. He gave me the time of day before most wouldn't. Gave me interviews. Always said, ask away. Never said stop. And even if, for whatever reason, he doesn't ever want to talk to me again, I still owe him a heck of a lot. And so I got that sit down. And in that sit down, I was told that, hey, look, we're about to get in a relationship here. We're about to start covering the UFC and doing a whole bunch of stuff, but we are going to stay true to ourselves and to journalism. And we're going to tell stories when they need to be told. That always stuck with me. I never forgot that. I was like, wow, this is great. Because you wonder, as people have since then, you wonder, what's going to happen? You know, what is this going to be? That was on the first day. 3 or so months later, I actually got hired to be on UFC Tonight as the insider. Now, that show was predominantly on Fuel TV, but this is huge. This is my first full-time TV job. This is exciting. This is end of 2011, and it's important to note that time frame. Why? It's important to note that time frame because it was actually around that time, and I'm so happy it worked out this way. Around that time, SB Nation bought MMA fighting from AOL. I got a call before the UFC on Versus, I believe it was 6, if I'm not mistaken, the one in Washington, D.C., Demetrious Johnson versus Dominic Cruz. I got a call from a higher up saying that they would like to meet me in Washington. Am I going to be at the event early October? And if so, they'd like to meet me. I didn't know why. I said, yeah, sure. You always want to meet people. It doesn't matter what's going on. You're working for AOL. You actually have a relationship with Ariana Huffington. They just bought AOL, or AOL bought them, and things are going well. We've transitioned to MMAfighting.com from MMA Fan House. We got a job in MMA, 2 years strong. I was hired in 2009, working with great people like Mike Chiappetta and Ben Folks. And I don't know if Michael David Smith was still there. Brian Tucker, our editor, who's still there. Me and him, the last one's left. Things are going great. I'm told you want this meet. Okay, let's sit down and talk. Yeah, sure. What do you want to talk about? I'm told in that meeting, October of 2011, that SB Nation has bought MMAfighting.com. Maybe it was 2010 now that I'm thinking. The point is, it's a few months removed. SB Nation has bought MMAfighting.com, and I was pissed. I was so disappointed. I was devastated. What? AOL, that's our home. That's where they treat us great. This is the unknown. I didn't know what's going on at SB Nation. I didn't know who these bosses were, these coworkers were. What is happening here? I was very reluctant. And the deal went through. It happened. We really had no choice. I can sit here 5 or so years later and tell you that every single thing, I'll say it again, that those men promised me back then when we met for the first time, and they told me that this site was being sold to SB Nation, to what became Vox Media. Every single thing that they promised me, that they spoke to me about, that they said would happen, happened, and then some. Every single thing. I cannot think of a single example. Even on this show, when there's an issue, they get on it. They do everything they can. And yeah, we're kind of the little train that could, but we freaking work our ass off, everyone here, and we make it happen. Every single thing that they told me would happen, happened, and then some. When I said, hey, let's do the MMA beat, can you start on Thursday? Let's do it. Everything. Every single thing that they told me was possible, was a possibility, is a possibility, has happened, will happen. I mean, to say it's impossible to be treated better than I am treated working for this company. Honestly. If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say it right here. I'm not that kind of guy. And so why am I even talking about this now? I am talking about this now because, unfortunately, the juxtaposition of both jobs kind of starting at the same time and the differences couldn't have been more clear from the get-go. And that's just being the truth. That's just telling the truth, I should say. That's just being honest. I will tell you this. I have never in my life quit anything. I don't quit. I'm not a quitter. I've been frustrated. I've wanted to leave, but I don't quit things. I see them out. And to me, seeing it out was this UFC on Fox contract. I was very proud of the fact that I only missed one episode in the history of UFC Tonight. Why? Because my firstborn son, Oliver, had just been born, and I said I would be there. They told me to take the week off. I never missed another episode. When I had family issues, when I had health issues, never missed it. Didn't have a voice, didn't miss it. Had to travel, didn't miss it. Never missed it. I was very proud of that. I was very proud of the fact that I was one of the first people, on-air people, to be hired for that show and for that channel, that coverage. That meant a lot to me, to get that opportunity, and it wasn't something that I was going to give up, despite the frustrations, despite the fact that I felt like I couldn't grow. I wasn't given opportunities. I was given one-offs and then nothing. I was given promises and then nothing. I was pulled from things here. I was pulled from things there. I was told things. I'm not quitting. I'm not going away. I'm going to try to be the best that I can be. Thank God I still had this job to remind me how great and lucky I was to be in this situation, how great this situation is and was. And so I was never going to walk away. So I can tell you right here, I did not quit that job. I did not leave that job. I did not leave that place. I was sticking around. There was no doubt about it. There's a lot of smart people on the internet. There's a lot of smart people out there. You could probably guess what happened. I don't need to go into that. I want to have a career. I want to cover this sport. There's no need. You can guess it. Read the stuff that's out there. I don't know how people are so smart, but you're spot on. I didn't respond to anything. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't retweet anything. I didn't do any of that. I put out my statement. I wanted to take the high road, and that's what I'll be doing. But I would be lying to you if I didn't say that that I am hurt by what happened. To dedicate 4+ years, to show up, to never be wrong with one scoop, to never be wrong with one story, to never back out of an assignment, and then to just be given, a 2-3 minute phone call and say, see ya. No real reason. Thanks, but no thanks. That's it. That's all. And I would be lying if I didn't say that there were people that I worked with very closely on a daily basis that I've still not heard from. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? To feel like you actually did something wrong. Can you imagine that? So I would be lying if I didn't say that, I had a bit of a heavy heart. But I would also be lying if I didn't say that, you know what, I'm at peace and I do think that this is for the best, because I don't wish any ill will towards anyone. I hope that the coverage continues to be great. I hope that the ratings continue to go up. I'm sorry that I won't be, a part of it. But I do believe that there are silver linings. I do believe that, when one door closes, I'm a weird guy like that. I believe those things. And maybe it was time for a freshening up. But man, I got to tell you, the people that reached out, and you would be shocked at the people that reached out, the names, people I had not heard from in years. Texts, phone calls. Wow, you don't want to go through that. It's a weird thing. You don't wish that. But wow, was that an amazing thing. I mean, I can't even tell you. I will be thankful for life for that. I did not expect that. I really didn't. I love covering the sport. I love it more than anything, and I'm not going to change, and I'm going to be here. And I had a lot of people say, I'm going to miss you, and you were great to watch or listen to. Please don't forget that this is my home. This is my full-time job. This is what I showed up every Monday here. I'll be there Thursday. Don't forget about that. I'm not going anywhere. That was a great part-time gig. It was cool to be on TV, and I hope I get that opportunity again. But this is my job. This is not changing. I'm still covering the sport, and I'm going to cover it as fairly and honestly and unbiased as possible. Impartially, I love the sport. I cannot imagine doing anything else. So I think some people got confused, and I get that. It's sexy being on TV. I get all that, but nothing's changing. And yeah, you bet your ass that's why I wanted to have a lineup like we did today. That's why I asked these people to come on the show, because I want to remind you, I'm not going anywhere. And oh, by the way, this wasn't the first time. I had a feeling. I knew these things were, it was probably going to happen. I wanted to fight it through, but this wasn't the first time. This wasn't the second time. Longtime viewers and listeners of this show know. Wasn't the first time. If I ever get to the position of being a leader and executive, things like that, I have now gotten the playbook as to how not to treat people that have been working for you for years. I know it now. I'm good. And thanks to the people at this company, I know exactly how to treat people and how to treat people that go to bat for me and work for me and pour everything and devote a lot of time and travel and do all that stuff. I know exactly because of the people right here at Vox and at MMAfighting.com. And so, yeah, I'm bummed. But I don't think that, this is certainly not the last you'll see of me or hear of me. I'm still here. I'm still doing MMA fighting. I'm not going anywhere. I love the team here. I love everyone that I work for, and I wish everyone over there the best. You could probably guess what happened. You're all very smart people. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. I really honestly do not hold any ill will. I could be hurt. I could be, a little sad, but I don't wish. I really don't. I honestly don't. I hope you believe me. I don't wish anything bad on anyone. I think it was for the best. It was time to move on. I wish it was handled differently, but that's it. I didn't want I didn't want this to happen, but it's fine. The universe has a funny way of working out. It will be fine. We will cover this sport. We'll have fun. We'll do the show, and that's pretty much it. And I think that's pretty much all I really have to say. I don't know. If you have any other questions, I was kind of quiet up until this point about it, but that's kind of it. It's over. It's done. Let's move on. We're good here. We got a lot to talk about. Chris freaking Cyborg is fighting at UFC 198 finally. Remember where you heard that first. Kudos to Leslie Smith. Stepping up, asking to fight. But in conclusion, I don't know what happened. It doesn't really matter. I was on maybe borrowed time. I don't know. You can read the stuff that's out there. You can make your own hypothesis. But, I hope to be covering this sport until I'm done. And I hope to be a part of this team. And if other opportunities pop up, television, whatever, great. That would be awesome. It would be awesome. It's a beautiful thing. It's a different experience. I'm happy here. This is a dream job. Doing this show, it's a dream. So that's really what I took away from it. A reminder once again how lucky I am. And I think that's it. New York Rick, do you have any questions for me?
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of all this. So
yeah, I know. Well, I didn't want to tell you. You knew what happened.
No, this is the first I'm hearing of any of this. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, yeah, we're here. We just did a great show, and we're happy to have you.
So there's nothing you want to ask me?
No, not really. I'm not the interviewer.
Yeah, well, no, but sometimes you did come up to me. You did come up to me before the show and said, give me the scoop. So clearly,
Well, it seems like you saved the good stuff for on air.
Well, that's the way it should be. I learned that from my main man, Howard Stern. Sometimes I don't like talking about personal stuff. You know that as well, as well as anyone. But I understand, and I don't know, maybe people are going to be disappointed with, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to put people on blast. I'm not going to wish bad. I'm not going to burn bridges. There's no point in that. I do believe, I know that some people were disappointed a couple years ago when that wacky situation happened where I just kind of disappeared. And I told you, I did promise you that, I will tell you all someday, right? You remember that, right?
I do remember that.
And by the way, I still plan on staying true to that word. And maybe one day, I'll tell more. My book, you remember I told you the book is going to be called The Highway to Helwani, right? Highway to Helwani. That's a perfect way to describe my journey in this sport. What a wild and wacky life it is, but it's the best. I love it. So sure, maybe one day we'll talk more, but I feel, do you feel, look, I didn't prepare anything. My wife told me before she said goodbye to me today, she said, she said, you don't have anything written? You're not going to write anything? That makes me nervous, she was saying. I can't write anything. I can't do that. I don't write any questions. There's nothing on my screen right here except for your G-chat. So I don't know if I missed anything. Maybe tonight I'll think of something else that I wanted to say. But, again, I'll just want to reiterate, I thank the people at Fox. I really do. I had some great times there. They gave me some opportunities. Full-time job on TV was a dream. To hold that microphone for the first time was a dream. No ill will. It's a bummer, especially when I feel like, I always try to stick to the script and stay true to myself and do what I was told. I know for a fact, anyone who tells you otherwise, I know for a fact I did nothing wrong. It probably had something to do with the stuff that was talked about on this show or other shows that I do on this website, as kooky as that may sound. You get what I'm saying? But, I know for a fact that I did nothing wrong. If I'd love to hear from some people there. If they don't want to talk to me, that's fine. But I walk away with my head held high, knowing that I did everything that was asked of me. And I know now how I want to be treated, how others should be treated. And again, I thank the people here for teaching me about that. And that's pretty much it. I don't know.
I'd say that's a good summation of it.
All right.
This ain't the end. It's not a goodbye. We're just moving on.
We're just moving on. It was funny.
Sure.
Right after all this happened right after the my wife's going to hate me for talking about this, but right after this show, this happened. And it happened like, you talk about a Band-Aid. This was like one of those mini Band-Aids. That's how quick it was. Boom. Done. What? Okay. I sat down and lo and behold, one of my favorite movies of all time was on TV.
What is that?
Catch Me If You Can. Do you know Catch Me If You Can?
The Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yes. Have you ever seen it?
I have.
Oh, now I'm forgetting his name. Christopher Walken, the dad. Frank Abagnale. And what's the scene? He's talking about 2 mice fall in a cup of cream, right? One mouse drowns. The other one works so hard to get out. He churns the cream so much it turns into butter. He gets out. And he says, I'm that second mouse. And I'm a weirdo like this. I was like, wow. He's talking to me. Christopher Walken is talking to me. I could have sat there, and this is a lesson, and Punk said it himself. You can lick your wounds or you can move on and hope for better, bigger and better, and be appreciative of what you have. And it was amazing that would come on right as all this was happening. It was really something else. So, that's me. That's who I hope that you guys are. And if there's any lesson that I could give to anyone watching or listening, it's just don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't lick your wounds. Better things are ahead, and treat people the way you want to be treated, because again, the world has a funny way of working itself out. Everything will be all right. That's it. Like my man Bob Marley said. What'd he say? Woke up this morning, smiled to the rising sun. 3 little birds reach for my doorstep. I think it's 4 or by. Singing sweet songs. A melody pure and true. Do you think I've heard the song enough that I would know this? This is my don't worry, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo, about a thing. Okay, let's go to the questions.
I would sing with you, but embarrassingly, I don't know any of the words to that song.
Because every little thing. Yes.
One question, actually. Let's do one question for you, and then we'll go to the questions.
Okay, yes, please. From you?
From me.
Oh.
Here's the question.
Mazel tov.
It's the only one that matters.
Okay.
What does that mean for the people? What are we getting out of Ariel Helwani moving forward? What does that mean for where Ariel Helwani stands? Where are we going to see him? What's the deal?
This is a great question. You've come a long way as an interviewer. What does that mean? Look, this is what it means, in all honesty. As far as this job is concerned, it means nothing. Really. Actually, I take that back. This is what it really means. You see today's show? Did you see today's show? Did you see today's lineup? That's always been the goal. I've told you this before. But in the past, how when I miss a show, I feel like I owe the people something? Well, this time, in a weird way, I felt like I owed them something. And so I am more motivated than ever. I am more dedicated than ever. I'm just more fired up than ever to be the best that I can be, to be the best journalist, to represent, Syracuse and the education and the ethics that I was taught there to do this sport right, to do journalism right, to do it all right. And that's it. And that's what it means. So you can expect a better me. You can expect, and I know that's kind of cliche, but that's the damn truth. That really is. Every damn show is going to be the best it can possibly be. Every MMA beat will be the best it could possibly be. And I will be hopefully covering this sport until we're done, and great fights, great stories, great interviews, all that stuff. But I am freaking fired up right now. And so I think that affects the viewers of this show, the loyal viewers who go out there on iTunes and give us the stars and the ratings and the comments. Let's bump those bad boys up. I think that affects them very well.
That's a good reminder. 5-star iTunes MMA Hour. Let's work on that, people. Come on. Okay, now let's move along to their questions. First question. Name on the dotted line. I know it's just a formality at this point, but has the governor signed the bill yet? And if not, when does that happen?
By the way, when I talk to you, there's a bit of an echo. I don't know if there's something in that room. Do you guys hear it?
I can't hear it, but I have my cans on. I think we're okay.
We're good? Okay. So,
essentially, when is the ink dry on that? When does the governor sign?
Oh, that's something that hasn't been really discussed, and probably, something I probably should have asked Marc Ratner at the beginning of the show. But if you recall, Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, put it in his budget, which was a huge sign. A huge, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Endorsement?
Vote of confidence, endorsement, all that good stuff and more. So Andrew Cuomo putting in his budget, told everyone that he's cool with it, that he recognizes the economical impact of the sport in the state. So that's a formality. But the 120 days, those are the days that you should look out for. And nothing's going to happen before that. So what's 120 days? 30, 60, 90, 120. So that's 4 months, and we're like April now. So August, I maintain, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, I maintain UFC should be the first event in the state of New York because they got it done. And I know that it's probably favoritism, whatever. As a symbolic gesture, I feel like it should be done. What do you think of that?
I don't know. I mean, it's a free market. If somebody else can get in there quicker, then I say more power to them. But certainly, the UFC deserves the credit for that. Even if somebody else comes in first, certainly the UFC deserves the credit on that. They're piggybacking off all the efforts of the UFC. But if somebody else swoops in and gets it done, that's just the name of the game. That's just the name of the game.
All right.
Next question.
You're a cold-hearted snake, as Paul Abdul once said.
I can be. GSP at MSG. First, yes. GSP was at UFC 196. Now he was at a Knicks game. I think this was tweeted out by the Knicks.
Yes, my main man, Jonah Ballo.
That's right.
Of nyknicks.com.
Good man. We had him in the studio one time.
The best.
What are the odds of GSP headlining, or at least being a part of the first UFC event in New York City? And who would his opponent be, potentially?
Well, how about Renzo Gracie dropping the bomb today?
We had a few bombs today.
A few bombs. By the way, it appears as though TMZ has now posted a video of Jon Jones in this whole incident. I have not watched it, but it seems like, something has been posted already. That was quick. I mean, who am I to say that Renzo Gracie is a liar, right? Right?
You cannot disrespect the mayor of New York, Renzo Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, he is not a liar.
I would love to see it.
Opponent? Who would you like to see GSP come back against?
I don't think it's going to be for the belt. I really don't. I get the impression that they want it to be for the belt. I get the impression that, this has been discussed, this has been offered, but I also get the impression that now he doesn't want to be bogged down by that. He just wants to fight, not every 6 months, not be tied to the belt. You know what I mean? I don't feel like that's what he wants.
In my mind, there's only one reason actually, I guess there's two, but one makes more sense than the other. There's only one reason that Conor McGregor would want the upcoming fight with Nate Diaz at 170. And that would be to win that and piggyback that into a fight with GSP, because that would be huge box office. I guess the other reason about him, wanting to recreate the circumstances and that type of thing seems a little less legitimate to me. So perhaps Conor McGregor is anticipating, beating Nate Diaz and pitching himself a GSP fight. I think that would be huge, obviously, GSP versus Conor McGregor.
Sure.
So if that's the case, I could potentially see that being what happens.
I don't know.
But there's a lot of dominoes to fall there.
By the way, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Robbie Lawler. I just don't know if that's of interest to him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think if I'm GSP, the landscape is essentially I want Conor McGregor. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you essentially want him to flourish as much as he can?
Oh, absolutely. Look, he was at 196.
Yeah.
He knew it was up. He wasn't just there to watch history. He would have taken that fight. He would have taken that fight. He would have taken the Nate Diaz fight. If it presented itself. His coach, as he said on the show last week, and also as he's been doing on Twitter, obviously they're very calculated, those guys. They know what they're doing. So I just don't know if there's fights out there that are of interest to him. I don't think the Anderson fight is of interest right now, perhaps given his history as of late and the weight class issues. I don't know if there's an obvious answer. That's the problem. I don't really want to see the Nick Diaz fight again. Do you? Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure I'd get into it, but I don't know. That's not my first choice. My colleague Kenny Florian said that would be his first main event. It's got to be, the first main event has got to be, if Conor wins at 200, it's got to be Frankie Edgar, right? It has to be. And then and Jones needs to be on the card, and Weidman. Although you can't have 3 title fights. It's going to be interesting. And Ronda, man, I think that the MSG card is bigger than UFC 200. Do you agree?
How about, hold off.
Okay.
MSG versus UFC 200. What do you think is the bigger show, UFC 200 or the UFC's debut in New York? So you're leaning MSG.
I might be biased.
It's hard for me to also weigh in
right?
on this without being, without showing my bias. I guess, the simple answer is we don't know enough about UFC 200 yet. We don't know if they're hedging and essentially saying, let's take a mulligan. We promoted UFC as the biggest thing ever, but really it's kind of another numbered event. Let's push toward the MSG card. It's historic. It makes more sense. Or if they're going to pull out all the stops and do whatever it takes to make UFC 200 prestigious. I think, they've probably had to revise strategy up to this point. So it really depends on how 200 shakes out. Less so than MSG. I think we know that they're going to stack the deck for MSG. So it really comes down to what they can get done for 200.
Yeah. And
we don't know anything really at this point.
It's going to be interesting,
How about this?
Okay.
Next question.
All right.
Parlays off it. UFC 198 looks to be better than both so far.
I was just going to mention that. Yes, go ahead.
What do you think of that card? Is that the deepest card? And will that potentially be bigger than 200 and MSG? 198 looks hard to top.
198 is great because it's perfect for that market because you have now 3 of Curitiba's own, Anderson Silva, Shogun Rua, Chris Cyborg at 140 pounds in case you missed it against Leslie Smith. And I got to be honest. I love the fact that Cyborg is there, but I was with all due respect to Leslie, I thought that they would give her, a bit of a step up in competition. Are we not on the same page here?
We are so on the same page that the next question addresses that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this first. That is a fantastic card for that market, and I think it's a card that Brazil very much needed. I think that they got very excited, and there was reason to be excited about Brazil as a market. And as has been the case, they went to that well one too many times. And I think that market started to suffer as a result. Now here they are recommitting themselves to Brazil. Less shows, better shows, going to a stadium with the Brazilian heavyweight champion headlining it, with Anderson Silva on it, with Shogun Rua on it, with Vitor Belfort on it, with Jacare on it, with Cyborg on it. Who else is on it? I believe isn't John Lineker on it as well?
That's correct. Yeah.
This is an amazing card. The only weird thing about the whole card, if I'm being honest, and this is completely nitpicking, Belfort versus Jacare is a little weird because it feels like it's all Brazil versus the world, and that one feels like Brazil on Brazil crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe, but that's the fight to make anyway. So I do see that. I'm looking at the card now, and it is Brazil versus the world in every other fight.
I feel like the crowd there is going to be a little bit confused. Who do you think they cheer for? The legend or the up and comer?
I have to think. Well, I mean, let's be real. Jacare is not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if he's an up and comer, but I'd say, the crowd has always been more partial to Vitor, as far as my estimation. So I think Vitor will be.
Vitor looking swole as of late. Did you see Guilherme Cruz tweet out a picture of him?
I didn't see that, but
oh my.
He's
fight's not that far away. Actually, it's in 2 months. Less than 2 months.
Okay, so let's talk about Cyborg on that card. Next question: what are your thoughts on her fighting Leslie Smith? This person says, I was hoping to see Cyborg challenged if she fought in the UFC, and throws out the names Kat Zingano and Holly Holm.
Okay. Options were discussed. As I told you weeks ago on UFC Tonight, options were discussed. They looked at many different options. Some really high, some really, really intriguing, and then there were others. To me, the best option was Germaine Darandami. I thought that was the best way to introduce her.
That's a good fight.
Because that's a high-level striker who, could use a big challenge, who, we had high hopes for. It didn't really pan out yet. It's not quite, because look, if it's Holly Holm, it doesn't make sense if it's Holly Holm. To me, it doesn't make sense. It would have made more sense maybe at a 200, but on this card, it doesn't make sense. Holly should be in that Miesha Tate discussion, at least right now, until we know what's going on with Ronda Rousey. I don't think it makes sense to knock one of them off. And Kat, I mean, she's promising an epic fight and all that. That fight's done, and we've already talked about what it is in the past. Can't talk about it right now, but if you look into the archives, you can see what the fight is. A lot of people thought it was Cyborg. It's not. Obviously, it's not Cyborg. So I like the Darandami fight. I think Smith. This speaks to who she is. You know her. I mean, this is a great person, a gamer, someone who is not afraid of any challenge. And from what I understand, she was like, sign me up. I just won against the legend Rin Nakai. Sign me up. I want this opportunity once the news started to come out. So I give her a ton of props and go for it. Let's see how she does. Don't overlook the 140 thing, though. This is an important part of the whole equation. Could this be, the final road to 135? She's never gone to 140 before. I'm talking about Cyborg here. So that's an opponent in its own right. And I think maybe they wanted to not throw her in the deep end of the pool so she can at least conquer that challenge. But it's time. They had to do it. With all due respect to Invicta, Zuffa is paying her. They have to try to capitalize on it. I think, though, 198 is stacked enough. 200 could use a special attraction. This is a special attraction. I would have saved it for 200 if it was me.
Do we need to see Cyborg at 135 ever?
Absolutely.
I mean, this comes into play. Do the belts mean as much? In fact, that's a question we have later.
Well, Connor and Nate are redefining the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do the belts matter as much, or do big money fights sell?
I think in this day and age, my eyes opened very much when Bill Simmons was talking to Dan Wetzel on his podcast and talked about how the belts meant nothing. He didn't even know who was fighting for what belt. He didn't even know it wasn't for a title fight. That got me thinking that the general public, at the end of the day, just wants to see special attractions.
Yep.
To us, it means a lot. I like the belts. That's something that I've always loved about the UFC. You had, back in the day, 5 weight classes. Then it went to 8. Now there's 10, I believe. I liked it. It was all very neat. But as we learn more about weight cutting and IVs and all this stuff, and there's a big gap between some of the higher weight classes, I don't feel like a fighter, honestly, should kill him or herself just to fit a nice little box. So if Chris Cyborg can only fight at 140 or 145, then to hell with it. Just let her fight at that weight.
I think it comes down to this. If you're one of the fighters, the rare few, who has the option to fight for the belt or to choose a fight that potentially does bigger money, bigger box office, I think they're going to continually take that bigger fight. Whereas there's some fighters who aren't afforded that opportunity. They don't have the promotional skills. They aren't able to carry a card by themselves and will need to continue to chase the championship. But if you're a Conor McGregor or somebody of that ilk, I think we're going to continue to see that super fights, quote unquote super fights, are the way that this bread is going to be buttered.
Yeah.
And the belts are not going to mean as much for the fighters that are fortunate enough and can carry a promotion like that.
Is there anything about Diaz in these questions?
No.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, what Diaz has done over the past week or
Absolutely.
so. And by the way, if there was any doubt that I wasn't down with the 209, that the 209 was a fan of the nose, that Nick and Nate were on this team right here. If there was any doubt, I mean, you saw it last week.
Sure.
That was one of the coolest things that anyone's ever done for me, period, in my life, really. To go on national TV and say, or live TV, cable TV, whatever you want to say, and say that, wow, I did not expect that.
Shout out to Rory McDonald, too.
I mean,
showing the love.
Look, I said it before, every single fighter, manager, everyone. And Rory, yeah, what can you say? Yeah. But Nate, I think, in the last week has done a fantastic job of getting people excited for the potential rematch, which has not yet been officially announced. So we can't put it in stone just yet. We can't, put it on our little calendar. Things can happen. Crazy things can happen. But I think over the past week, the media that he's done, in particular on that Wednesday, and then he was on Sports Nation, I think, with Kellerman and Beadle on Thursday. He's coming out of his shell. The story about Jerry Rice, did you see that?
I did. It was a great story.
It's just beautiful. I love it.
And the thing about Nate is the authenticity just kind of shines through it. There's no gimmick there, and it just people identify with that. People feel like he's just
there's something endearing about him.
Completely endearing.
Yeah. Especially when he's got that
It's not the same type of way that other people promote fights. It's completely different. And that's what's so great about this. Number 1 pound for pound, in your opinion, who is it? Jon Jones, Demetrious Johnson?
Jon Jones.
Completely agree. Think he never lost that. Definitely, he wasn't inactive long enough, in my opinion, for even the conversation to really pop up. Jon Jones is the best.
Enough with jumping around every time someone fights. Yeah. I mean, this is indisputable. With all due respect to everyone, it's indisputable that Jon Jones is number 1. And enough with the revisionist history. Now Rampage was old. No, these guys were in their prime when he beat them.
If Conor had gone up in his first attempt and beaten Nate, or more convincingly, if he had beaten RDA for that title, I think there would be a conversation to be had about that if Conor became the number 1. But for all intents and purposes, for the foreseeable future, Jon Jones is number 1.
Absolutely.
I think we can all agree on that.
Absolutely. And I hope, I mean, again, I haven't seen this footage that people are reacting to. You hope he didn't do anything wrong. At the end of the day, you really hope that you didn't break any laws. You hope that this doesn't stand in his way of his comeback. Because I will tell you this: I have been checking in with the Greg Jacksons, with the Mike Winklejohns, with the Brandon Gibsons. I mean, people of the highest integrity possible. I mean, you feel the same way about him. I feel the same way. It's the same thing I was saying about BJ when he was coming back. If those guys are on board, I'm on board. And I had been checking in with them, not for stories, not for scoops, just how's Jon doing? And they kept saying he's doing great. And so, you hope that this doesn't happen.
We addressed this quickly. Let's maybe summarize it. Do the belts mean less in 2016? Diaz-McGregor being the biggest example of that. Conor, as a title holder, has no interest really in defending his belt versus taking a big money fight. Benson Henderson, on the way out, he was communicating that there's more important things than the UFC belt. What is the importance of the belt at this point?
I think it's still important. I think it still means something. I think that pay-per-view points and prestige and history, it means something, definitely. Look at Demetrious Johnson talking about breaking Anderson's record. It still means something. Make no mistake about it.
I believe we sat here a month ago, or just about that, and had a question very similar to this. And my answer was that the belt was still more meaningful and that people were still chasing that. And now I feel like I've completely flip-flopped on that. At least in terms of what certain fighters, as I said, who have that opportunity, view it as. In my opinion, I think the belt is the most important thing. Personally, like if I was in the sport, I'd be chasing the belt.
Absolutely, you need that. There needs to be something at the top of the mountain.
But I guess the question is, let's say Conor didn't have the 145-pound belt. I think he'd be chasing that more so than bigger fights. I think the championship gives you that legitimacy and allows you to kind of open those doors for the bigger money fights.
Absolutely. Don't be mistaken by the Conors and Rondas of the world.
There's
very few.
Yeah.
Let's just say the
Frankie Edgar. He's the best one that we can point to.
Well, the bantamweight division doesn't have that. The light. Those are shooting stars that come once in a lifetime. In every other division, there's a reason why DJ is now saying, I'm just going to stick to this division and try to make history. You don't hear Dominic Cruz saying, I'm going to go fight Conor McGregor. There's Jon Jones talking about heavyweight maybe one day, but let's not forget that at the end of the day, these fighters, man or woman, they want the belt because once you get the belt, you get more things like pay-per-view points, you renegotiate, you get sponsors. You can't do that without that belt. And also don't forget that these people talking super fights already have the belt. No one's skipping the belt to the super fight. You need the belt first.
Hector Lombard recently announced he's moving up to middleweight.
Yes.
What do you think of that switch?
I think it's smart. No IVs. This new era that we live in. It always seemed like, you're going to see this. You're going to continue to see this with many guys. He ran out of gas first time he's finished. You got to switch it up. I think the weight cutting is a big deal.
Who do you like for him potentially?
Oh my, I didn't think of that.
Would you bring him back against a top guy or maybe ease him into it?
I think you need to ease him into it.
It's been a while since he's been a middleweight, so I think potentially somebody on the lower end of the top 10 or 15, than throwing him right in the water right away.
Maybe like a Talis Ladies.
I think that's a great fight.
Or how about a Tim Kennedy?
I don't think Tim would take it. I think Tim's holding out for something.
No way. Tim would definitely take that.
You think?
Absolutely.
I think Tim's
I don't
hold
want to
out for
speak for him.
something a little higher ranked, a little more important rankings wise. But I'd love to see that fight. That's for damn sure.
That would be fun.
I just want to see Tim Kennedy fight.
Yeah, enough of this.
This person presents it thusly. It's an old tired topic, but how about Fedor talking about how he'd like to sign with the UFC if they gave him the Verdun fight? So you're not interested in Fedor versus Verdun?
No, of course I would, but come on, how many times?
How many times can we talk about it without motion?
Now you're just messing with us.
Sure.
How many opportunities? Enough. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen when you're not under contract with the UFC. It's just not going to happen. So what are we doing?
It's smart. Continue to bring it up. Keep yourself relevant.
I guess.
But you don't see. Do you see it ever happening? I guess that's the bigger question. Will it ever happen? Will Fedor be in the UFC?
Never say never. Chris Cyborg is in the UFC. There was a time we didn't think that was going to happen, right? So I can't. I definitely cannot say that it's a.
Chris Cyborg is in her prime and wasn't. The circumstances are. Fedor's window is closing very quickly.
I feel like there was a great opportunity to really put some fascinating and special chips for this 200 card. Like Fedor, okay, maybe it didn't work out, but that would have been one. Cyborg would have been another one.
Yeah. People who were not previously.
It's got to be. It's got to feel like WrestleMania, right?
Well, we'll get to that later.
Oh, WrestleMania sucks.
Oh,
Jesus.
really?
Come on.
We'll get to it later.
It sucks.
But so you're giving the to Fedor.
Well, just come on, enough of
Enough
this.
talk. Let's see some action.
And why do we always fall for it every time?
We have to.
I guess.
What's the bigger problem in MMA?
Yes.
This is kind of maybe let's say a close to quarter year review.
Oh.
Fighter pay.
Yes.
PEDs.
Yes.
Or judging. Similar, things that we would have had at the start of the year, the end of last year. What's the biggest problem right now in MMA?
Well, I don't know if my man Marc Ratner is listening, but I think weight cutting should be in that discussion as well.
So let's combine that with PEDs. Let's say.
But is it fair to do that? Guys who don't cut weight.
Maybe not.
You got to live cheaters.
I wasn't gonna say in that sense, but I was gonna say in self-inflicted.
I'll go weight cutting because I still feel like there isn't a true formula, perfect formula out there. I'll go weight cutting. I will go PEDs. I will go. And then, pay. The problem is pay and judging are kind of related in the sense that, bad scorecards can lead to less pay and affect your career. But, the health stuff is definitely 100% number one.
Less pay can lead to PEDs because you want to maybe vault yourself up the card as well. It's all related.
It all is related, but I still feel like we continue to dodge major bullets with weight cutting.
I'll be interested to see the 1FC, the results of what happens there. And if that'll have, wider impact. But, okay. Now we're moving on to outside topics.
Oh.
How about this person proposes an interview with somebody who went to Q's, an alumni. Or
me?
What would it be? An alumnus, right?
Interview myself?
Because they're saying, maybe next show we get somebody from from that world.
Yes.
Who an alumni doesn't have to be potentially somebody from the basketball part of it. Somebody from Q's in any
no.
world.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It has to be SU.
Yeah. Both men and women teams in the Final Four.
Yes.
You know what? I just brought this up for an opportunity for you to kind of gloat about it.
Yeah. Wait, what's the question?
There is no question here.
Okay.
But they're proposing an interview with somebody from Syracuse, whether it be somebody who went there that we know. Oh God. All right. You know what? We're going to the next question already.
It's the fight song.
Pick up the little mascot guy.
Fighting for the victory.
Wait, do we actually know the lyrics here?
Syracuse, each loyal son knows. For we'll fight, yes, we'll fight, and with all our might, for the glory of old Syracuse. Down the field goes old Syracuse. We did it. They said we didn't belong. Here we are. But the problem with this idea, by the way, is that Monday, the Final Four will be over.
Will it? Well,
it's Saturday, and then Monday's the championship. But if they could lose, North Carolina's a great team. But I can't.
How about the effort by the boys and women out, the boys and girls out there?
Did you watch that game?
I watched the men's game. I saw that. Yeah.
Unbelievable! What a comeback! That D, you wish you could play that D. That press. How about that 2-3 zone? Jim Boeheim special.
But this is why I don't like college basketball.
Why?
It just feels so rinky-dink. It's so
What
amateur.
are you talking about? This is why. This is exactly why you should love college basketball.
I don't love it. It's
what do you mean?
Like, I don't like it. They've continued to put out this thing about how college basketball is about defense and
wait a second. What?
And effort.
There's nothing you could say that could ruin this moment. They were down by like 14, 15 points. They go into zone. Oh no, they go into full court press, and then Virginia turtles up.
Yeah, college basketball teams collapse all the time. They're just not. It's not good basketball.
Whatever.
Hate it.
Yeah, and I see your tweets mocking the Knicks. Your time will come.
Well, I mean, let's be real. That dunk was.
Your time will come.
That dunk was something else.
Last night, my son said to me, I swear. He said to me, I wish I recorded this. He said, I don't know where this came from, but I wanted to collapse in tears. He said, tonight I'm going to dream about the Knicks. And I swear to you, I do not talk about the Knicks. There's nothing to talk about. And he just said it.
Now,
it was a major milestone.
Did he detail? Is it possible it's a nightmare looking at the standings? Well, what?
Stop it. We're talking about a 3-year-old kid here, for God's sake.
Okay. Question for both of us. WrestleMania 32. I don't know. I think that's the right number. I don't actually know. Your thoughts on the event? You said so far that it sucks. And do you guys have any picks? I don't know the full card. I know Shane O'Mac is going to be there.
Yes.
Let me look this up right now.
Are there odds?
That's a good question. Let me look it up. Let me look up the card first.
All I'll say is that
But you're not excited about it, you said.
I'm not excited about it. Why is Shane McMahon going up against The Undertaker?
I love
this
that.
Makes no sense. Yeah, sure, it's great. I love that Shane O'Mac's back. He's one of my favorite. Here comes the money. I love that. But why The Undertaker? Since when is The Undertaker and Vince McMahon in cahoots? Come on, this makes no sense.
He's the company.
He's the company guy of all people. The Undertaker, Roman Reigns against Triple H. Haven't I told you enough times that Triple H is the exact reason why I don't watch?
But
there it is.
I feel like people seem to like him right now and not like Roman Reigns.
Oh, they hate it. This reminds me of WrestleMania 18 when we had Triple H against Y2J after the real people's main event of Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. I was there at the
Fine,
Skydome.
how about this? Brock Lesnar is competing.
Okay, how is Brock Lesnar not in the main event? This is the biggest draw in the whole damn game. If he was in the UFC, he would still be the main event.
Wait, so I thought The Rock was going to do something here.
They should do The Rock against Brock.
Yeah.
How is he not in the main event?
Am I crazy? I don't see him on here. Hold on. Oh, he's appearing, but he may not be.
Who?
The Rock.
I believe that WWE at this point is sort of taking advantage of its audience. They know WrestleMania sells out before the card actually gets put together, and they're saying, okay, now we can just put out the subpar card. Remember last year this time we thought that Ronda was going to be on it. Remember that with The Rock? How awesome would that have been?
Wait,
that's what we were talking about.
Did you watch it last year? I did, but I forget.
I watched parts of it. Remember it was Sting against The Undertaker?
Oh, yeah. And wait, so Ronda was there, right? That's
when
one.
She did the flip.
Yeah, okay.
Triple H and Stephanie, and then everyone. And then they put the promo and they called it Rowdier.
I saw it. I'm going to watch it this year. You're not going to watch it? You're out? You're done?
I think I'm out.
Wimp.
You still have the network?
No, I don't. I was on a month to month.
How are you gonna watch it?
Maybe I'll go, watch it at a bar where they're showing it. Maybe I'll bring a few friends. We'll order it. Let me see if there's odds on this.
By the way, I don't even think you can order pay-per-views anymore. Can you?
No, of course you can. It's like UFC.
No. I think they're off that.
No.
If they aren't, 4 people are buying them.
Oh yeah, but then couldn't I just sign up for a month for $9.99 and then cancel it instead of buying the pay-per-view?
They're gonna get you. I get emails. I got one today. Come back, please. We miss you. Biggest mistake of my life. I love WWE though. I mean, one day I'll take my kids there, but I just think the product is very stale.
Yeah, the kids would love it.
The product is stale. And maybe it's for kids. Maybe that's why my son's getting all into Power Rangers and stuff now. I never was a Power Rangers guy.
Wait a minute, that's still on?
Ugh, I'm not really that happy about it because I was never a Power Rangers guy.
I was a big Power Rangers guy.
It's so cheesy. I watched it with him. It's like the fakest thing I've ever seen. I mean, the special effects in Power Rangers is ridiculous. I mean, they are bad.
Now, this is like the one that was on when we were growing up?
I don't know. He asked me to DVR it for him, so I do. He dressed up as him for Purim. I don't know if you know what that is.
I do.
Shout out to Nick with the great hamantaschens today.
Did you eat it? Did you have some?
Absolutely.
I'm saving mine for after the show, but I'm gonna have a hamantaschen.
Saving yours?
Well, yeah. He told me about it like 5 minutes before we went on air, and I was like, oh well.
Okay.
I'll have it.
Anyway.
Roman Reigns.
Yeah, Roman Reigns.
He's the favorite to win.
Are there any odds? Should we do this?
But they're always the European odds.
Oh, it's too confusing.
But he's the favorite to win. Big favorite. Which is, I think that's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Roman Reigns?
Yeah, he's minus 155 against Triple H. Undertaker is minus 300 against Shane McMahon, who's plus 220. And Brock is minus 335 against Dean Ambrose, who is plus 245.
What else is on the card?
There was a big battle royal. Andre the Giant battle royal.
Oh, great. We'll put together all the guys who we can't figure out anything to do with and throw them into the damn... Come on.
Listen, I mean, it's it's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be fun, I'm sure.
The Usos against the Dudley Boys.
The Dudley Boys.
Come on.
That's
what does that really mean?
Blast from the Past.
Kevin Owens and versus Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler versus...
That's awesome.
Too many people. There's no... Kalisto.
What would it take for you?
Ryback still
Ronda
around?
and The Rock? What would it take for you?
That would be sweet. I'd be all over that. The New Day against the League of Nations. That's the Nation of Domination, I thought. Charlotte with Ric Flair versus Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. Why are there so many? I mean, come on. No holds barred street fight. By the way, almost every single match has some sort of like funny stipulation. What happened to old school?
That's what you want to see?
I want to see feuds. I want to see it play out.
What it is?
Mano, one-on-one.
The amateur wrestling got to you.
Yes.
And that's what you want to see. You just want to see two guys in there going for pinfalls.
Absolutely. I want to see best 2 out of 3.
Danny Rubenstein is creaming himself listening to this.
Oh, God.
That was it for the questions.
Bad visual there. That's it?
That's it.
All right. So no odds, nothing. We're not going to play that game.
For what?
We could have played the game.
For the WrestleMania one?
We did that last year. You don't remember this?
Yeah, but those were the fights. Those were the fights that they had the odds for.
Oh, okay. But you could have asked me.
Wait. So let me see if I can find the odds for that big battle royal thing.
Oh,
that'll be fun. But okay. I feel like you're not going to know like all the guys in it.
Well, I'll know them. In the meantime, I'll remind you that World Series of Fighting is back this weekend, April 2nd. David Branch against Clifford Starks for the middleweight title. John Fitch is fighting for the welterweight title, the vacant welterweight title. Speaking of the welterweight, the biggest troll in MMA, Vinny Magalhães is fighting on the card as well against Jake Hune. And Dangerous Danny Davis, remember him, the old school referee? He'll also be competing on the card. Speaking of which, Husimar Palhares is now signed to Venator. What a promotion that is, Venator! Wow. Palhares is fighting against Emil Meek, so that should be a lot of fun.
Also, Palhares is grappling Gary Tonin in Polaris.
He's very for a guy who's suspended. He's very busy.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one in the world of BJJ. If
when
anybody's
is that?
paying attention to that, that's this weekend.
No, it's this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, is that on pay-per-view? iPay-per-view?
Yeah, I think so. Gary Tonin, really small compared to Palhares, so kudos to him for taking that. That's submission only. It's going to be fun.
Darren Cruikshank has signed with Ryzen. He'll be competing on their April card. What else? Yoel Romero is going to appeal his suspension, 2-year suspension, so he'll be the first fighter to be doing that in the UFC. Fei Zhao and Daniel Sarafian have been released by the UFC. What happened to Fei Zhao? Jeez.
Yeah.
Such promise. Dan Henderson changed everything. Remember he was the champ? We thought that he was one of those guys. Nothing. What happened? Sarah McMahon versus Jessica Ai announced. The Korean Zombie is coming back. Hopefully fourth quarter. A lot of exciting things in MMA.
That's right, Korean Zombie. Oh, yeah, that's going to be good.
That is going to be good. I missed them.
Man, the odds are all weird because not everybody has odds.
All right.
Kane has odds.
It was fun
Mark
while it
Henry.
lasted.
Braun Strowman. I think he's the favorite to win this whole thing.
Who? Okay, I have not heard of that name.
Braun Strowman. He's like the big kind of Brock Lesnar foil type guy. He's like this
Get outta
monster,
here.
big monsters kind of guy.
No, I never heard of him. Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman.
Sounds like my main man, Marcus Stroman.
Who's that?
Of the Toronto Blue Jays. Season starts next. No. All right.
That's it.
So we're done. We addressed everything. We're good.
I mean, we even talked wrestling. We hit everything today. We broke some news.
Broke some news.
We addressed what the people wanted to hear.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we did good today. I feel like we did good today.
All right. We can go to sleep knowing that we did our jobs. Brian Keller, Boom Brian, just sent me a picture of a really nice mug winking at me saying congratulations on happy 8 years to me. So thank you, Brian, and thank you to everyone else. I appreciate the interest. I appreciate, again, I'll say it one last time before I go, I appreciate everyone who reached out, and even some some people that I did not expect to hear from. But all is good in the hood, my friends. We're healthy, we're happy, we got great opportunities in lives, and this sport is on fire. Shall I sing the song again about the MMA Hour on Fire, or have you heard enough singing for one show? All good. But
No,
okay.
song.
No, I don't know if we have it. I don't know. I don't have the lyrics. I can't do that. The MMA. No, I can't do it. There needs to be. We've done enough singing. But yeah, I really appreciate everything, and I think I hate that feeling when I go home and I'm like, I didn't say this, I didn't say that, but I feel like we're in a good place. I mean, naturally, people are asking, will you be covering event? Of course, I'm going. I will be there. UFC on Fox, Tampa Bay. Gonna go check out a Rays game. UFC 197. DJ Cejudo. I saw Cejudo tweeting. You didn't get Cejudo's tweet. Did you get that? I don't know if he's mad at me or he's mad at DJ. Did you see Cejudo tweeting?
No, what'd he say?
It's supposed to be your job to I take back everything I said about you.
Wow.
Where is he? Where's Henry Cejudo? There it is. He tweeted us during the interview. He said, "I'm not worthy of a title shot. Demetrious Johnson, everybody. He fights in the UFC." No, really. He's in the UFC. Hashtag MMA Hour.
Damn, that's a pretty solid burn.
I don't know. Did DJ say that? Or was he responding to my question about him not being, not having enough competition? I don't know. I don't know who he's mad at there. I love Henry.
That's a burn on DJ. That's great.
Okay.
That's a good one.
All right.
He's saying, in case you're not aware, Demetrious Johnson fights in the UFC. You might not be aware, even though he's headlining
yes.
cards.
I love it.
A solid burn from Henry Cejudo.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your hard work back there, everyone. And I think that we are out of time. So let's hit that music. Let's see if we can get number 1 on iTunes. Wouldn't that be great? Wow.
5-star it.
5-star it. Leave a question, a comment, whatever you have to do over there. It definitely got bumped up. So, anyhow, a fun week last week. UFC coming to MSG, MMA in New York, Bellator probably at the Barclays Center in the BK, the 718. Hopefully coming to Syracuse and Rochester and Albany and Buffalo, and Utica, Schenectady, Glens Falls, Plattsburgh, Queens, Bronx, everywhere. Good fans in New York deserve it. Much love to all of you. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you listening, watching, reading. Appreciate your interest. And again, I appreciate everyone who reached out. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful community that we are a part of. And this, in a nutshell, reminds you just how awesome the MMA community is. It's a great group. Thank you very much to Marc Ratner for stopping by. Again, mazel tov to him. Make no mistake, without Marc Ratner, this thing maybe doesn't get done. Poured a lot of time into it. Thank you very much to Demetrious Johnson, Mighty Mouse. Good luck to him. April 23rd. Thank you very much to Renzo Gracie. Wow, you can listen to him all day. Thank you very much to CM Punk. Best of luck to him. Thank you very much to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And thank you very much and all the best to the one and only Jon Jones. Appreciate him and everyone for stopping by today. That does it for us. Same time and place next week. You better believe I'll be back. Until then, I say peace. I'm out of here.